Hello everyone and welcome to another commentary. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
And I'm sitting in a chair right next to Dan Torrey, sitting in a chair.
Yes.
We're in New Hampshire right now, where Dan lives.
That's right.
And we had a goal last week on the Captain Logan show for a Last Jedi commentary, and we met that goal, and so we have decided, begrudgingly or otherwise, to do a commentary, of course, well, we've decided we had to, I promised it,
yes,
that we would do Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Yes. I'm actually weirdly looking forward to this, even though I don't really like this movie.
I am too.
Yeah.
I actually think this will be really fun to watch together.
Yeah.
And this is a ritual for Roz. It's going to be a lot of fun because you and I have done every other Star Wars movie, besides Solo. We've not done that one.
Well, we can do that after this.
Okay, sure,
yeah,
we should.
Let's do it.
Not like right after this, but at some point
exactly, right.
in the not too distant future. But I think we did Rogue One too, did we not?
Did we?
Or have we not?
I don't remember.
Maybe not. We might have to catch up.
Did we do Force Awakens?
With Eric.
Oh yeah, we did. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And that's the only one that somebody else was with us. But you and I have kind of turned this into a thing we do.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
We've done all 6 of the other movies.
Yes, yes.
And I had a lot of fun doing those, despite the fact that I admittedly, I have always said I'm not a giant Star Wars fan. I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. And I want to mention that for anybody that has not listened to one of our commentaries before.
Yeah.
Because this very likely might be a movie that people will come and check out and have not listened to anything else we've done together as far as Star Wars goes. Sure. So I just want to mention, if there's an expert here, it's Dan. And I know some stuff.
Some things.
But I'm real casual when it comes to Star Wars.
See, if you know that Palpatine's real name is Sheev.
I do.
So you're ahead of the game on most people.
And I know that Anakin Skywalker's mother is named Shmi.
Shmi and Sheev sitting in a tree.
I'm aware, right.
Making a child out of the Force.
That got disturbing really fast.
Yeah.
I also want to mention real quick that we have a wall unit air conditioner going on right now next to us. And you guys are probably hearing that right now. And I'm going to do everything in post I can to deaden that some. But it's going to get real super hot in the room we're in right now.
It would feel like Mustafar in here if we didn't have the AC
That's
unit.
Right. We'd be doing a commentary on The Last Jedi in Darth Vader's lava temple.
Yes. Which actually would be pretty cool.
I also know what Mustafar is, and that Darth Vader has a lava temple there. Although, I didn't realize that was Mustafar until I read, is it Wade? No. Soul's Darth Vader?
I've heard that he does stuff with the Mustafarians in that book, but I've never read that series. I read the Kieran Gillen one all the way through.
I read some of that series, but the Soul one in the first arc, which is all I've read, they fill in the gaps and you actually see him go to Mustafar and decide to build that.
That's cool.
And I didn't know it was there, and I was like, oh, that's actually way cooler that he goes to the place where he got burned alive and builds a lava castle.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And the cool thing about the castle too is that was supposed to be in Empire Strikes Back.
I know.
They took it from unused concept art and stuff.
And that's the thing that Eric told me about before Rogue One came out, and then he and I went to Rogue One together, and we just lost our minds when it was there.
That's awesome.
It's like, that's really cool. Like, call it fan service or whatever, but why not do that? It's really cool.
And it's fan service in the sense, like, it's something from previous Star Wars history, but it's not like, do you remember Ewoks? Like, it's something subtle.
Yes.
If you're not a gigantic Star Wars fan, and you don't know about unused concept art for The Empire Strikes Back, it's just something that's really cool. It's not intrusive fan service.
They also don't make a giant deal out of the fact that it's Mustafar. I mean, they might say Mustafar on the screen. I can't remember.
I don't think they do in the movie.
I'm not sure they even say where that is, because I didn't know.
Yeah, Krennic just shows up on his shuttle and lands. I think
that was a fun moment for me reading that Soul series. I was like, I'm turning around on that. I hated that at first. But anyway, we're going to do Last Jedi. This is, of course, a super polarizing movie. This is a thing that, like I said, I've always been really apprehensive and trepidatious about doing.
I honestly don't stand, because when I saw this movie the first time, I was very disappointed in it because of the way they handled Luke Skywalker, specifically because he's my favorite heroic character in Star Wars. But as the months have progressed, I really don't understand the level of vitriol on both sides of the equation that have formed around this movie.
Yeah.
I think there's good things in it, but I think I overall don't like the movie at all.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the disappointment was cool ideas that were set up and then kind of ruined. not just in Force Awakens to this, but in the movie.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, that's really cool. Where are we going with that? Oh, you did the least possible interesting thing you could have done with that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel about it. So I will say, I hope when we reviewed this before, I didn't come off super vitriolic, and of course I wasn't angry with fans who liked it.
Yeah.
But me personally, I was upset about it because I was very invested in the mysteries of Force Awakens.
Me too.
And was excited to see where they were going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us really liked Force Awakens.
A lot of stuff is just not paid off, or a couple of things are kind of directly contradicted. And I know some people don't think there are any contradictions in this movie to the first movie. I don't understand that. I'll point some out that I found that I think are contradictions.
And I think this movie, even in the opening crawl, suffers from the lack of world building that was done in The Force Awakens.
Absolutely.
Which we'll talk about when we get into it. The First Order reigning, a day after the New Republic.
Just already?
The New Republic, all the New Republic was blown up. Even though, we see in, A New Hope, when the Death Star blows up, that doesn't mean the Empire disappears.
No. And yeah, we saw a bunch of planets blow up. I mean, it was, I guess, bigger carnage.
Yeah, but it wasn't...
But I never got the sense that we lost the whole
Yeah,
Republic.
This is a galaxy-spanning republic in the same way that the Empire was a sprawling, galaxy-wide government. I just don't understand what happened,
Yeah, and like you said, it feels like a day later, because it's not like there's several years in between.
No, it's literally we see Rey go see Luke, literally minutes after the last movie ends. It takes place right after.
Not to mention Finn's coma.
That too, yeah.
But let's go ahead and get into
it.
We're talking about it now anyway. If you want to watch the movie with us, and we encourage you to do that, you can get out your DVD, your Blu-ray, your digital copy, Netflix, however you want to watch it, get it to timestamp 0 past all the menus, if there are menus, and get ready to press play when I say now. Dan, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Dan, I'm going to let you say now. Okay, you have the power. Are you ready?
I've got the power.
Everybody get ready to press play, right?
Now.
It's pretty good now, Dan.
Thank you.
It's pretty good.
The Lucasfilm logo. Love it.
There.
So one of the things that I miss about the Disney Star Wars films is the 20th Century Fox logo at the beginning.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because
I also have that.
When John Williams and George Lucas were working on the score for the first Star Wars, the 20th Century Fox theme had fallen out of popularity, and Fox didn't use it anymore, but George Lucas liked the theme so much that he wanted to bring it back, had John Williams do a version of it, and then the Star Wars theme is composed in the same key to make it feel like a part of the movie, and they wanted, the long time ago in Galaxy Far Away, silence to kind of build the anticipation for the opening crawl, and it works really well, I think. But now we don't get that anymore, unfortunately, because of the Disney buyout. It's not a big deal, but I kind of miss it.
It's not, and I've always had that too. It feels kind of funky to have just silence.
Yeah, I agree.
And then every time I turn on one of these new Star Wars movies, I'm like, is my sound on?
Yeah. So we just did the thing about saying the First Order reigns. The
first words you see, you're like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
And the thing that's interesting about the First Order in Force Awakens, I thought, was the fact that they're kind of like the scrappy remnants of the Empire, like Thrawn's group of Imperials are in the Thrawn trilogy,
Yeah.
That was what was inherently interesting about it. Now they're just the Empire.
Which makes it feel like a soft reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a mistake when you've got 3 trilogies, and what I would like to feel a trilogy of trilogies. It's weird when you just have a bunch of double beats with your next trilogy.
Yeah.
And with Force Awakens, I was not real quick to criticize yet all the parallels with the first movie, and to say that it was too that it was too much based on all that. We were just doing that movie again because I wanted to see where it was going.
Right. So we're going to begin right away here in this scene with dumb military tactics from the First Order. Not just the fact that they're played for comedy, but you'll see here, they order the cannons to fire on this rebel base that's not going anywhere, and forego shooting all of the ships with the Resistance on them for no reason.
Yeah.
They could have killed the entire Resistance here if they were just not idiots.
But at least the movie's consistent about it, because all the way through the movie it feels like that.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, I guess it's like this here too. It always feels like they just don't know how to look out a window.
Yeah.
Through the whole movie, it's just like, look out a window.
Exactly. And one of the things that I think is very unfortunate about this movie is having the First Order be played for such comedy and be idiots in this movie.
I agree
removes
with that.
all tension and stakes for the movie for me.
I wondered if you had that too.
I do. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the villains in Star Wars. Like, Darth Vader and Boba Fett are my two favorite characters in the whole saga. Because the Empire in the original films feels like such a big threat, and the Rebels almost always barely win or lose. And the Resistance has not really lost all that much. I mean, like, they lose a lot of people in this movie, obviously, but Kylo Ren still loses at the end. Like, it's not like Darth Vader, where he's a large, threatening character. I don't need to be the same character as Darth Vader necessarily, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
But I just wish that.
And also the idea of him trying to live up to Darth Vader, but he can't, and he's there for different reasons, and his background is different. That's
right.
all. That's all.
I'm just asking that he's not an idiot. You know?
Yes, of course. But then we kind of make all these guys idiots.
Exactly. Yeah.
And more than that, we also make them over-the-top cartoon characters, particularly this guy.
Domhnall Gleeson hams it up in this movie. And he kind of does this in The Force Awakens, too. All the First Order officers are always just yelling.
Well, he sets the tone for it
yes,
in that first movie.
Yeah.
With that big Nazi speech.
With the speech, yeah.
Yeah. This whole General Hux thing, immediately we're setting a really weird tone for this. This whole, like, I don't mind Poe Dameron being, of course, a somewhat amusing character. I don't mind him,
I don't mind that either.
Having this kind of, I don't want to say ruse, but this distracting tactic, and he's like belittling this guy and all of that. It's almost worse on Hux's end. But there are a number of places in this movie where it feels almost too informed by, like, modern day and even 20th century stuff, where it's just like putting people on hold. Is that a Star Wars thing?
It doesn't feel timeless.
That's how I feel about it.
And the humor too. Like, I don't think any of that exchange was funny, but it feels like an attempt to do the modern MCU kind of gag humor, playing things in dramatic scenes for comedy for no reason sort of thing.
And Deadpool.
Yeah, that too.
And people that have said that some of this borders on just being straight up Spaceballs, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I agree. It does feel like a parody at some points, but
yeah, and that's really problematic. And just in like immediately in the theater put me off, where I was like, really, this is where we're going? And but I'm not gonna say that there's not some of that in Force Awakens, and that it's not just building too much on that. I wonder if
it's definitely more of a problem here than it is in Force Awakens.
It totally is.
Yeah.
But I want to throw people that had issues with it in Force Awakens a bone, because I know we're gonna get a bunch of comments that are going, well, Force Awakens did it. Why is it okay there? There's less of it, and some of it is more subtle. There are bits like. Usually it's with Finn where we go too far.
Finn we'll talk about as we get in here, because I think Finn is a character that was poorly conceived in Force Awakens.
In the first place, yeah. Absolutely he was.
When we get to him, we'll talk about him more. But
yeah.
The issues with him just continue in this.
Yeah.
Before. And now we have BB-8 fixing electricity by putting metal things on it.
And BB-8 can do anything?
Yeah.
Again,
drive an ATSD walker.
I'm going to say this a lot. He's a Warner Brothers cartoon.
Yeah.
He basically came out of an Acme box. Where you just can do anything you want him to.
He did.
Wile E. Coyote keeps ordering him and cannot figure out how to make him work. That's what's going on.
Exactly. And we were talking a little bit about Kylo Ren being an idiot earlier. I want to be clear when I say I don't dislike everything they do with Kylo Ren in this movie. I think there are great scenes with him, and I think what's attempted is very interesting.
Me too.
I just think it's poorly executed, ultimately.
And I think we throw everything away that's cool about it by the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is probably my biggest disappointment with the whole movie.
And me too, because Kylo Ren still remains one of my favorite Star Wars characters.
Besides
I love Kylo Ren.
all the question marks I have with Rey, because I want to love Rey. I thought she was potentially really, really interesting and cool in Force Awakens. I love Daisy Ridley's performance in that movie.
Me too. I really liked Rey in
the
Force Awakens.
I can't say I love her performance in this, actually.
She doesn't really have all that much to do.
She doesn't, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. I'm getting the sense that she's not totally happy with what she's given.
You think so?
Just like Hamill.
Yeah.
I feel like the both of them are doing their best, but not real happy with the material.
Sure.
And we all know that Hamill does not like what was done with the character.
No, not at all.
He's made no bones about that.
He's been very, very vocal about that.
And he said he likes the director, and he enjoyed working with him, and he was going to give him the best movie he could, but it just was not a script that he was happy with.
Exactly. And to your point, speaking about Poe Dameron earlier and how you don't mind him being like an amusing character or whatever, I think Poe Dameron is ultimately the most consistently written character in this movie and the only one that has any kind of a character arc. So he's the character I find to be generally the most entertaining, even though I think the plot of surrounding what happens with him has a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the character that I think I latched onto the most, oddly enough, in this. Because I sympathize with most of what he's trying to do throughout this movie.
Me too, and the problem is I'm distracted by the fact that I cannot decide if the movie sympathizes with
Oh,
anything
I mean,
he's
I
trying
think
to
the
do.
movie
That
clearly
drives me
doesn't
insane.
sympathize
Yeah.
with him,
But I mean, like, first viewing, as I'm going along, I'm like, who am I supposed to side with here?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I find out it's not him, I'm like, okay, and like, I get what the character arc is supposed to be, but it's so manufactured and superficial.
And the character arc is kind of like, you should blindly obey authority.
It is.
And this is people... These are people that are in the new version of the Rebellion.
Yeah.
Like, the First Order is all about, like, blind compliance and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, and there's
Or should be, anyway. We don't really know what their ideology is at all.
That's true. They don't seem to have any. It's real
Yeah.
generic.
Yeah. But
We should mention this movie looks gorgeous.
it has a lot of great shots.
All the way through. Yeah, I'd say all the way through. There are some shots I don't like, but I mean, there's some CG here and there.
I think there's some very, very competent direction in this movie.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
Rian Johnson technically is a very talented filmmaker.
All he needed to do, and I'm a broken record with this, with a lot of directors, all he needed to do was have somebody else write the thing.
Absolutely.
He just was not up for this task, writing-wise.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Which is weird, too, because I really like Looper, and I think he wrote that, too.
Really?
Yeah.
But Star Wars is such a specific thing. Not everybody's going to be right for
Agreed.
You know?
I just was like, when I heard that the Looper director got this movie, I was very intrigued, because that movie is so interesting.
It
like,
is.
Science fiction premise-wise, too.
Yeah.
You know?
But what we needed was somebody to co-write it with him, because I think he had some really good ideas, and I don't think they would have paid off the way they did if maybe he had another set of eyes on it.
I wish they brought Kasdan back to work on this with him, like they did with
I
Abrams.
think Kasdan just didn't want to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he did Solo because he had that script kind of in the drawer for many, many years.
Right, but I think I read that he was kind of done with Star Wars.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I don't
really
blame
want to
him.
do any more of these.
I don't blame him. You know, I love Star Wars, but if I was a screenwriter, I wouldn't want to write exclusively Star Wars till the end of time.
I could also see why specifically he wouldn't want to do this movie.
Sure.
Because it's going to be so compared to Empire.
Sure. And he started working on Star Wars with Empire, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that Empire's so beloved, and he co-wrote that.
Right, exactly.
Which is why he was brought back for Force Awakens. He did help write Force Awakens, right?
Yes, he did. He co-wrote it with Abrams.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
How do you feel about the way this stuff is shot, and some of the sort of slow motion and stuff? Some of this doesn't really feel like a Star Wars movie to me, but then Force Awakens also did it, so I guess that's just this is all real Abrams style stuff here.
Sure. I don't necessarily have any problems with the filmmaking. I think this stuff with this Paige character, who's Rose's sister, is kind of... I don't care.
Same
because
here.
we don't spend any time with this character.
But it's all a pacing issue, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes us too long to get introduced to the reason she's set up here, the reason she's here. She's all here to set up a major supporting character later, with this other piece of the necklace she has and all of that. It takes so long to pay off, you kind of forget this even happened.
When I watched it the first time,
it's
I
40 minutes in before we get Rose?
Yeah, when I watched it for the first time, it took me a while to pick up on exactly why she was, what that necklace was.
Me too.
I was like, oh, it's that thing from the beginning of the movie. Okay, interesting. I forgot that was even important.
Yeah. I think you have to introduce her way earlier in the movie.
I think that character, she shouldn't have died, but I think that the character that's, made some sort of, epic move to try to blow up the First Order ship should have been Rose. Not die, don't blow up the ship, but, have Rose introduced that way, where she's, trying to drop the bombs and stuff.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and then we're really siding with her and wanting to see her succeed, because we saw her do this really scary thing that was... Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think that's... And there's a lot of this in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, cheap character motivation, where it's Rose needs some kind of tragic backstory thing, and I don't think it even informs her all that much.
Well, if you did the thing that I just mentioned, you immediately give her a motivation as to why she's so loyal to the Resistance and is upset with Finn for leaving.
Of course, yeah. And it's hard to make characters likable who are introduced when you just killed off their family.
Right. I mean, I guess if you altered that stuff, you'd have to make Rose not as much of a like Resistance hero fanboy or fangirl if she's one herself.
Yeah.
Like if she's already a Resistance hero like that, but
no, you're right. You are reinventing the character, but I think that says something about the movie.
Yeah.
That maybe that character needed to be fleshed out differently. Maybe she's not conceived great either. I mean, like I at least have a better sense of what she's about than I do Finn.
Well, the thing about Finn in The Force Awakens that I think is so unfortunate is he had the potential to be such a new and interesting and different character from whatever we've seen in the Star Wars movies before.
He starts with such a different ideological place.
So he starts as basically a space Nazi trained from birth to murder people.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that training just goes away in Force Awakens for no discernible reason, and he's just a
never
goofball.
Explained. And I gave Force Awakens enough credit to assume that there was a mystery there too. That there was an explanation, and someday we'd get it, because I can't remember what exactly, but there was something at the beginning of that movie that made me think that it wasn't just conditioning. It was almost, I mean, that it is conditioning. It's like programming.
Yeah.
And it's weird that he just like in that moment where he doesn't want to murder people, just takes off a helmet and is like, I'm done. And I'm like, can any stormtrooper do that? Because I didn't get the sense that they could.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that there was something special about him that allowed him to do that, which is why a lot of people were speculating that maybe he would turn out to be a Force user, and
especially since he used the lightsaber.
And then he used the lightsaber at the end, and people were like, okay, what's that about? And we either have thrown all that away and we're never going to get an explanation, or retroactively, J.J. Abrams is going to do something with that next time.
I hope so. That would be great. So this is the scene where I was sitting in the movie where I knew I was in for something strange.
Yes. When he just tosses it?
Yeah, and it's played like a gag.
Uh-huh.
Because The Force Awakens set this up as an epic sort of meeting between these two characters that I was really looking forward to, and then it just immediately throws that moment away.
And keep in mind that we waited for 2 years to see what his reaction to her would be, and that's what it is, and I kind of felt trolled by it.
Yeah.
In TV terms, that is a cheap cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a season cliffhanger in TV, and like I like Best of Both Worlds in TNG a lot, but it's sort of like Riker says fire, you wait 3 months, and then, Captain, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Sure.
Except worse.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, I gotta backtrack for a second.
Okay.
Because we didn't talk about it when we saw Finn, but how do you feel about the fact that like he's in a coma and then he just wakes up and then we just move on?
I don't really. I mean, I'm not invested in Finn as a character at all, so it doesn't really bother me too much. You know.
But from a storytelling perspective, I don't love that. Like I'm with you. I don't care a lot about Finn either, so I'm not invested enough to care.
I mean, there is precedence.
But from a writing standpoint, it's like, okay, well, don't put him in it. I mean, I don't like coma stuff like that usually either, but that was part of a cliffhanger, and that's more of that cheap cliffhanger stuff where it's like, okay, he's in a coma, what's going to happen? And he just wakes up for no reason.
Sure. The issue that I have with this stuff with Luke too is, we're gonna see here Mark Hamill ask where Han is, who's his best friend, the one of the three triad characters from the original Star Wars, and when he's about to react to the news that Han is dead and that Kylo Ren is the one that killed Han, we don't see his reaction. We cut away from it. Like, you would think that would be a driving motivation for Mark Hamill's character in this movie, because he's so about, I perceived, Kylo Ren falling to the dark side, and that's why I tried to murder him. And then he learns that, not only did Kylo Ren join the First Order and cause the destruction of the New Republic, but he also killed Han, and there's no reaction from him, and it doesn't matter at all.
And not only is there no reaction, but he's going to for half the movie, insist on not helping and just trying to stay in the status quo that he's been in. Mm-hmm. And it's even as as much as he's fallen and as dark as he's gotten, I don't buy that from Luke Skywalker.
No,
man.
me either. We'll talk about it later when we get to that, but I agree with you.
Do you read the guilt you ought to read? Because I don't.
I don't either. This is my favorite scene in the movie, though, by the way.
Oh, really?
It is, yes.
Interesting.
Because I like some of the stuff they do with Kylo Ren, and I like the scene because I like that he's being dressed down by Snoke in this scene. I like that we're sort of causing more conflict and emotional turmoil in the character, and this is something that we never saw from Darth Vader and the Emperor in the original films. Like, Darth Vader fails to stop the destruction of the Death Star, and there seems to be no consequences for him related to that. And I like that we're dealing with that stuff here. I thought that this is a cool scene.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm with you there. It's kind of weird that suddenly he's like, take the dumb mask off when he just wore it the whole time he talked to him last movie, just because now we know what he looks like underneath it.
Yeah, I do like Driver's performance in this scene too, where he, like, you can hear the desperation in his voice when he says, "I've given everything I have to you, to the dark side." Like, I really like the way Driver plays it in this scene.
The wound covered over by tire tread
Yeah.
is a really interesting choice. I'm wondering what that is and how exactly it's applied.
Yeah.
I have two superficial issues with Snoke.
Yeah.
One of them is that he's not a big giant man, because he's shown in the first movie as big giant man in a hologram, and I was really hoping that he was actually that big. But of course, I couldn't expect that. But that was what I was hoping he would be, because I thought that would be great.
Yeah.
And secondly, this is a character with a partially CG face that just does not need to be partially CG. There's no reason you couldn't do that whole character in makeup, and it's distracting to me, and I don't like it.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I mean, I don't know how you get a human head to look like that.
I mean, I've seen a lot of prosthetics that do stuff a lot like that. I mean, I don't think it's that hard. You just build it around an actual head. That does not look like it requires CG to make, and whenever that happens, it makes the Uncanny Valley thing a lot worse for me.
Yeah, so I really like that Kylo Ren destroys his mask here, and the idea is that he's beginning to step out of the shadow of Darth Vader and try to become his own man. I really like that as a further development of his character, and it's so weird that just because people didn't like this movie, Abrams felt the need to bring the mask back. Like, I wouldn't
have done that. I didn't realize that.
I love the way that his mask looks and everything, but for the sake of the progression of the character, what little that makes sense here...
No, he's moved away from that. I'm not Vader anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And even with him becoming Supreme Leader at the end, which I don't care for, I thought he would be a totally different thing, and it just feels like he's just taken over Snoke's role, and it's going to be the Empire again still.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make sense that he would bring the mask back, unless Abrams has some kind of plan and it ends up making sense. But he's not Vader, he's the Emperor.
Yeah. And
like, he's taken the Emperor role, why would he wear that? If anything, he should have big robes.
I personally like the choice of him becoming the Supreme Leader at the end, just because that's what Darth Vader wanted all along for him and Luke to do, and Kylo Ren sort of surpasses the legacy of Darth Vader by doing that, and I think that's a really interesting place to take his character. The way it's handled...
If we got there organically, yeah, but that, I didn't feel that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily well executed, but I like
Sure.
that in concept. Like, I think that's a really good idea.
No, I just hadn't thought about it the way you're talking about it. And when they set up his and Rey's team up and teased us with that, and then shut it down, it's hard for me to get excited about anything after that, because that was such a cool idea.
It was a cool idea.
And then we don't get that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what you're talking about could have been great if that's what we built to all along, and if it was organically gotten there. But I was so done with it at that point that I didn't even think of that.
Well, and I'm going to be interested to see what Abrams does with the status quo of the galaxy with Kylo Ren as the Supreme Leader.
Yeah.
Like, it would be interesting if Kylo Ren is a good ruler.
Yeah, I mean, I would love that. The
Yeah.
problem is, he's all like... See, and that's more of the issue I have with it, is less that he's a Supreme Leader, and more that he is like the same brand of Supreme Leader it feels like at the end of the movie. Where
Yeah, because he's just yelling, like,
shoot
everything!
Fire everything! Yeah,
Yeah.
he's killing all the transport ships. He's like, I don't see that guy being a benevolent dictator. But
No.
it would be really cool if he was.
But so there's I guess a year time jump between this movie and Rise of Skywalker, which
Yeah,
I
I heard
don't
that.
think is enough time. But they could play it like, oh, he's learned enough that, like, he's a new character, sort of like how when you meet Luke at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, he's like a much more wise, put-together character.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Kylo Ren's story parallels so much, not only Darth Vader, but also with Luke's story.
That's right.
That I could picture them doing something like that, too, you know? So I suppose we'll see.
So would you go as far as to say that... Because you're saying what's done with Kylo Ren in this is the best stuff in the movie.
Yes.
Which I tend to agree with, despite my own issues with it. Would you say that he's not an unsalvageable character?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, I think...
I don't think you can do straight up, he turns to the light side.
No, he's irredeemable
and
at this point.
I'm concerned that that's what they'll try to do.
I think what they'll probably do is he'll have a moment of clarity and, like, make some epic sacrifice and die. Like, that's what I think they'll probably do with it. I would like to keep Driver around if we're going to keep making movies in this continuity after the events of Rise of Skywalker, but I think Disney's going to avoid doing that like the plague, at least for a while. You know?
See, I want the Benevolent Empire thing because it's so interesting in Legacy.
Right, yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be so cool.
I also just want to get past all this stuff and make Legacy, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So,
I'm not even a Star Wars fan at this point, I'm just a Legacy fan. That's all I care about.
I just love Star Wars Legacy.
I just love Legacy, yeah. I haven't even read more than the first couple arcs, but it's like the best Star Wars stuff. According to me, who's consumed not nearly enough Star Wars stuff.
So one of the things that I think is weird about this like book Jedi library thing is...
Besides everything?
Is the fact that in Star Wars continuity, the Jedi don't record the Jedi teachings in books.
Yeah.
They record them in holocrons. I mean, I guess they say these are like the original Jedi texts or whatever.
And so I guess they would have written them down a bazillion years ago.
Maybe, but I don't know. I would have... I don't know. Even in, like... I guess this doesn't count, so they're doing their own thing. But even in, like, Knights of the Old Republic, they still have holocrons. Like, and they make it in like...
I thought that was ancient technology.
It is ancient technology, yeah.
But that's one of the many things that makes this feel pretty fanficky to me.
Well, and I don't need them to necessarily use holocrons if... Because like, we see the holocrons in the prequels. But if they want to do their own thing and be not married to the EU and say, like, oh, you know, they used books at the inception of the Jedi Order, that's fine. Sure. I just thought it was a little strange, you know?
It's one of the many things that makes you question how familiar your writer-director really is with the material.
You know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Star Wars?
Star Wars? And there's reason to ask those questions with Abrams, too.
Yeah.
But...
Well, and there's a thing we kind of glossed over at the beginning about, like, the bombers that the Resistance have.
Yeah.
They're, like, the worst ships
ever. No, I know
ever.
that drives you crazy.
Because, like, TIE bombers existed in Empire Strikes Back, and they're fast, and we're chasing the Millennium Falcon, and they were dropping bombs, and you didn't need, like, a control person, like what Paige has, like...
Yeah,
like,
and
there was superior technology like 30, 40 years ago in this universe.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And if there was some kind of talk about how they're having to use substandard technology, but there's not.
No.
We never talk about that.
Especially since they're, related in some way that we're not told about in the movies, to the government of the galaxy.
And also there's the whole thing, which I don't care for, because I feel like it's just unnecessarily preachy and kind of, like, shoehorned in social commentary.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it later in the casino stuff, which is the worst. I hate it. That's just gonna be my voice during that whole period. So you guys feel free to fast forward if that irritates you. But when we get to that part, we've got Rose's whole speech about the Empire and the Resistance buying weapons from the same place.
Yeah.
I don't like all that.
Yeah, it's kind of... I mean, it's ultimately inconsequential to the story. It doesn't have any effect on any of the characters. Like, Rose's belief in the Resistance and Finn's decision to go with the Resistance at the end of the movie is not informed at all by any of the information they learn about maybe the Resistance having shady dealings with these people on the casino planet. Like, Rose is still as resolute to the cause as she's ever been after learning that. It's just kind of like we need to make social commentary about the military-industrial complex shoved in this movie for no reason. You know?
Well, I didn't think she learned anything. I thought that was her telling Finn, look, it's not all black and white.
No. It's that character Benicio del Toro plays. He's the one that reveals that stuff to them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because she says, oh, these people are all rich because they sell weapons to the space Nazis, and they're evil. And then the reveal is that they sell to both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that DJ character that Benicio del Toro plays.
I mean, for me, it's also weird because it's as simple as the Empire and the First Order is essentially just the Empire now.
Yes.
They've got all these stormtroopers. They clearly have a lot of droids. They can't make their own weapons. They can't, like, is it just the designs were sold to them, but really, like, they can't make their own designs now?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me.
And that's not even the way it works in this continuity in the past with the Empire. Like, in Solo, we see the Imperial Star Destroyers being built on Corellia in, like, Imperial ship factories.
Yeah, I thought they had factories.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this continuity,
yeah.
We're not even talking to you right now. We're talking about a movie in the pseudo rebooted continuity.
Yeah.
I don't mean rebooted in that the movies don't count. I just mean we've rebooted EU. We're not even talking about that stuff. We're talking about a movie.
Yeah, I mean, in EU, there are corporations that have contracts with the Empire to make their weapons and ships, but, like, in Solo, it sure looks like it's an Imperial installation.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. So. Now, this scene with Kylo Ren and his TIE Fighter, like, all the moves he pulls off in here, like, I think all this stuff is very, very well shot.
Yeah.
Very well executed.
The thing is, this is an entertaining movie.
In some places, yeah. In many places,
until we get to the casino!
Well, not even just the casino. Like, the plot of this movie is, like, a crawl through space. Like, based on, like, oh, we're running out of gas.
And just based on, like, how that feels in that word, crawl, you don't want a 2.5-hour movie when that's your plot.
And this is a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be, the action's supposed to be, like, fast-paced and exciting, and...
He does have a pretty cool-looking TIE Fighter.
He does. I really like the, I think it's called the TIE Silencer, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, it's such a weird feeling when your space pilot hero keeps doing things, or at least this is my experience, first time out.
And here's Poe Dameron with his plot armor. Everyone in that hangar dies except for him.
Yeah, well, we just know that he cannot die in an explosion.
Yeah.
From Force Awakens, we already know that. That's a superpower. He cannot die in an explosion. It's not possible.
True.
If he crashes from space onto a planet, he will be fine. Just leave his jacket there because he's okay.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, it was really weird first time out, watching my space pilot action hero do things and taking risks and like going against orders because he knows something that they don't,
yeah.
And then being told later, no, he did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, like, I go to soundtrack a lot. I wouldn't have scored those scenes the way we do at the very least because it's so like triumphant and action hero and like he's doing the right thing and then oh no, he got all these bombers killed. He needs to have a character arc about how to not be impulsive.
Well, and once we bring Holdo into the picture here, I do like how conflicted Kylo Ren is in this scene. Like he's supposedly made the decision to leave the past behind and he just can't let go of it. Well, and it makes his thing that he says to Rey at the end of the movie telling her to let go much more interesting because he's not even able to do that himself, you know? Like he's asking someone else to do something he himself can't do. Yeah, sure. It's I don't know. I think that's a lot of that stuff works really well.
Well, and I'm still fascinated by and we're still hanging on to this. It seems like this was the big thing that Rian Johnson really liked about Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much everything about Kylo Ren, but specifically the idea that he's not naturally drawn to the dark side, and he has to keep forcing that.
Yes. He's trying to be someone he's not.
Yeah.
Whereas Darth Vader was just an evil man after his transformation, Kylo Ren is not able to do that.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very interesting premise for a Star Wars character. I really like that, you know?
And just really cool mirroring of
with Luke, too.
Of Yoda's training with Luke, mm-hmm. where it's like, no, I naturally don't go the easy path, but I'm trying to make myself go the easy path. I think that's so interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. I mean, that's all the stuff I latched onto in The Force Awakens, and why I still like that movie so much is because of Kylo Ren. Like, I really like him.
So do you remember while Force Awakens was being made, or just about to come out, and we were told that there was this other guy who was making the next movie, and it was going to be weird. Mm-hmm. It was going to be very different, and it was going to be weird. This is the scene where I said, okay, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's weird.
It's weird, especially because Leia's head should have just exploded because she's in space.
Well, yeah, there's that. But you know what a lot of people say about that? It's like, well, it's science fantasy and not science fiction, and the rules are different.
Yeah.
And no, I'm with you. But the weirder thing for me is, okay, let's forget about the fact that she's not a trained Jedi.
Yeah.
Let's forget about the fact that it's hard to buy her doing like such an extreme thing with her powers that we've never, to my recollection, seen a Jedi do even. Like in the middle of space,
yeah.
you're able to will yourself to a ship, but even more than all of that,
yeah,
she's not conscious.
Well, she does open her eyes, and then she just falls unconscious right after she comes in the ship. That's what happens.
But it seems like it's like the way it's shot, it's like the Force wakes her up or something. It's
that
so
could be
weird.
Yeah.
And
we just don't know what they're trying to go for there, because it doesn't really make any sense.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always read that as Leia's basically using the Force to make herself conscious.
Yeah.
That's where it goes so too far to me.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the idea with the coma, and the same thing is done with Luke Skywalker at the end, where he disappears because he did something that was super ultra powerful, is supposed to be, we've got to have some kind of like contrived weakness if we're gonna let Force users go that far. And like, I get that, but it still isn't enough. It's like, well, it's okay that she flew through space because then she's going to be unconscious the rest of the movie. So like, there's a consequence for her being able to be that powerful.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So
still just doesn't gel for me.
So this moment should have been amazing.
A big deal.
Luke Skywalker going in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon again. I don't understand the fixation on this dice.
Me neither.
I didn't even realize that
Remember
Han Solo
those dice?
I didn't even realize that Han Solo had dice on the Millennium Falcon until these new movies.
Oh, really?
They make a huge deal out of it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
So like, they went back and they found a random prop and they were like, let's pretend like this was more prominent than it was.
And after seeing Solo, it's even weirder because Luke gives those dice to Leia, like, oh, something to remember Han by or whatever, but like, Kira is the one that gives Han the dice in Solo? So it's like, this is like a memento from Han's ex-girlfriend that Luke is giving to Leia?
Oh, that makes it so much weirder!
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that!
Yeah, it's just weird.
So retroactively, after Solo, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
I think Chewie is thrown too far under the bus with Luke Skywalker.
And what do you mean?
I'm gonna say that. Because Chewie shows up and he's like, Chewie, what are you doing here? And that's all he says to him.
Yeah.
And then we get on the Millennium Falcon and he's like so excited to see R2-D2. And I realized that R2-D2 was like his special droid and they were friends and stuff, but like they all had a rapport together, and I just don't like that his response to Chewie is just, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Chewbacca doesn't get nearly enough to do in any of these movies.
He's just here.
And it's the same thing with R2-D2 and C-3PO. They're just there, too, because it's a Star Wars thing that people remember, so they gotta be in the movie.
That's it, yeah. This movie especially struggles with figuring out what even lines to give C-3PO.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
He has
where
that,
it's like, just write him out of it.
He has that stuff at the beginning of the movie with Leia, and then, like, what? Does he say anything after that?
Yeah. Toward the end, there's some stuff with him.
See, I don't even remember.
It's awkward. Specifically when Poe starts his little mini rebellion against Holdo.
Yeah.
C-3PO's like, I'm not programmed for this, and he just starts to run away.
Yeah. So we're about to bring Holdo in here, and the thing that we were talking a little bit about the Poe Dameron stuff before, when the Kylo Ren stuff started happening, so I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
The thing about this movie, in terms with Poe, and you were talking about how you're not sure how you're supposed to read it with the score and stuff.
Yeah.
Holdo seems like a completely unsympathetic character this entire time to me. Like, I feel like
we're not supposed to trust her.
Well, you're not supposed to run a military operation by keeping all of your men in the dark.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a really bad idea.
And I've heard a lot of people say that no, that is how the military is run, and
it's literally not,
because it's realistic. And I'm like, I don't believe that's true. And here's the thing: it's not just that she won't give them details about the mission. It's the fact that, first of all, there's ultimately no good reason that he was left in the dark. If you got to the end and it was like, okay, here's why no one's supposed to know about this. But I don't know why everyone couldn't have been told that and it would have gone the same way, right?
Yeah.
But the second thing is, she doesn't not just not give him the details. This is the reason that she seems suspicious and I don't think I'm supposed to trust her the whole movie. Mm-hmm. She also won't tell him if there is a plan.
Yeah.
She won't even say, because like, if you look at any, like, say, TNG episode where Picard is left in the dark by Starfleet.
Yeah.
It's always like, okay, we have a plan. It's on a need to know. We can't tell you too much in case X, Y, or Z happen.
Yeah.
But like you're trusting your superiors. They have a plan.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be until your crew was in like massive, horrible danger that you would even begin to think to go against the authority.
Yeah.
And in this, you're supposed to go against the authority when she won't even tell you if she's clueless or not, if she has a plan or not, and also everybody's in massive danger. And so she needs to, at the very least, say, "Don't run off half-cocked. I know people are dying. We've got a plan for it, and whatever your plan is, it can't be as good as our plan." Or say, "What's your plan?"
Right. Like, talk to him.
Yeah. This is all just a lack of communication, and it makes for really fake drama, and it's awful.
It's drama that happens for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, if the characters didn't act like idiots, then this entire problem could be solved. And the reason why it's in the movie is because we need to do something with Rose and Finn, and we couldn't figure out anything to do with them.
Yeah.
Like, they go on an adventure here that ultimately is inconsequential to the plot of this entire movie.
Completely. They don't bring back anything because they fail.
Yeah, yeah. So, none of the stuff with any of the Resistance plot in this movie in general, with Poe, Rose, and Finn, like, none of that stuff works. You know, and I think the only aspect of the story that I enjoy in this movie is the Kylo Ren stuff. And when it intersects with Rey, I'm into that stuff. But, like, of course, the Rey and Luke stuff doesn't work for me either.
Yeah, same here. And again, some of that stuff I'm into a lot more until I realize where it's going. And then I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Just seem like a lot of missed opportunities.
Absolutely.
A lot of counterintuitive things.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize, and I mean, inevitably we have to talk about, this reaction from people. A lot of people like this because they say that it subverted expectations because it wasn't. They expected, like Force Awakens, for it to be beat Empire, and then it not only doesn't do certain things Empire does, but it does like the opposite of them. But counterintuitive isn't.
Having your characters act like idiots is not a proper way to subvert expectations.
Yeah, it's not satisfying.
No. Because you
can't say it's a rule where if it subverted expectations, it did a good job. It has to feel satisfying, and it didn't.
I agree. I agree.
I also think that there is potential chemistry between these two characters, and that Rose is just written weird.
You think so? I was not at all into the romantic plot they tried to set up between these two characters at all.
I just mean the actors.
I guess.
You don't think even that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Not
Fair
really.
enough. Fair enough.
I mean, and I don't dislike Kelly Marie Tran as an actress. I think she does a pretty decent job with what she's given.
Mm-hmm.
Like
but you're not even into putting them together. Yeah.
Especially since Finn seems to have a romantic interest in Rey in The Force Awakens, and his entire motivation in this movie is to get back to see her, at least at the beginning. So I think it's kind of odd to have a romance. Like, I guess that's, again, subverting expectations. You expect Finn to get in a romance with Rey. But, I also don't like that Rey hasn't had any sort of romantic interest in her life at all. And, I mean, we have the stuff with her and Kylo Ren here, which could have been interesting. The two dark, the light and dark side of the Force representations falling in love with each other is an inherently interesting idea.
I also love the sexual tension there, but not going so far to actually put them in a relationship and maybe do that later.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have wanted them to go that far in this, but to seed it and make you wonder if that's happening could have been really cool.
Right.
I am baffled by this reaction. I hear this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say Rey is great because she's a major female character who is not shoved into a romance. That if it's a girl, we expect romance, and it's great because it isn't that. And I'm like, but love is such a natural, regular part of life. I don't feel like it's stereotypical just because she's female that she would date someone.
I mean, I feel like you could say the same thing about male characters too.
Same here.
In most movies like this, the male characters have romantic interactions with women too, and like you said, to be in love with someone is a natural part of what it means to be human. So, if you remove that element from the story, I mean, you don't have to make everything about love necessarily.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a contrived she's being shoved into a romantic plot thing to give her a love interest.
I think it's contrived that she's not in the end.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotta force it away from that because we're trying to be like unnaturally progressive. It seems to me like if these movies, and this one especially, were more character driven in the first place, she is naturally gonna have a relationship.
Oh, because she's a very pretty girl, she's a strong woman, you know, all of that. Like, what man wouldn't want to be with a woman like Rey? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys would be throwing themselves at her, I'm sure. You know?
Yeah, and so she ends up feeling...
Like Finn does in The Force Awakens, sort of, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she ends up feeling weirdly like a lot more wooden than she would otherwise, just because we're trying to avoid that so hard.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, like...
And not replacing with anything. I don't know what her interests are outside of survival.
She doesn't... After this movie, she doesn't really have a character.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing to latch onto as far as, like, interesting things about her. The Force Awakens, at the very least, like, we had the Luke thing going on where she would dream of going somewhere and having adventures where, like, when she wore the resistant or the X-wing pilot helmet and was living in an AT-AT walker, and then she resisted initially leaving the planet for her family and all that, like the same stuff that Luke was going through in A New Hope. So, like, she had that same sort of, like, a naive young person kind of thing, like wanting to go on adventures, but also, like, was still too tied to her past and all that, which is an interesting way to parallel her with Kylo Ren as well. But in this movie, and I mean, and on top of all the mystery stuff in this movie, like, I don't think we do anything with any of that stuff, like, at all.
No,
know?
I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, like, this whole subplot just ultimately ends up being pointless. So it's kind of hard to sit through, especially once you know where it's all going.
And Maz Kanata is so, like, just shoved into the scene because we couldn't find something to do with her either.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even sure I buy that Finn would think to go to her. Like,
yeah, he doesn't really have more than, like, 2 minutes of interaction with her.
Yeah, and Rey spent a lot more time with her, and Finn doesn't really know a lot about her anyway. Like, Rey might think to go to her.
Right.
Especially if it was about anything Jedi related, and that's not, but like...
And we don't even know, like, what Maz Kanata is really at this point. Like, is she... She's like, I'm not a Jedi, but I know the Force. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, she's like... Maybe you can be Force sensitive and teach yourself to use parts of the Force, but you're not...
Yeah, maybe she's like Chirrut Imwe, the guy from Rogue One, the blind guy.
Yeah.
Like, potentially, I don't know. But they just don't explore any of that.
Because it seems like she only uses the Force to, like, peer into people's souls and to... I don't know if she reads the future or not.
I don't know. So we have our first Kylo Ren and Rey connecting scene. I think this is actually kind of a cool idea.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And this was the stuff in the theater where I was like, okay, the movie's, like, winning me over now.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in this. I like this idea of the Force connecting two people together and making stuff between them tangible.
Uh-huh. I agree. It's kind of undermined by the fact that we just revealed that Snoke was the one that was doing this stuff the whole time.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have been more interested if it was just the living Force connecting them, you know?
Yeah, because again, it feels like we're maybe building on mysteries from that first movie, and that's part of what makes the ending of this such a letdown for me with Rey, when we ostensibly find out that she's not supposed to be special at all, with the whole she has no, you know, important special parentage, which ultimately I'm sure Abrams is going to wipe away in some way, because she's like this massive Force user, and most importantly, and this is the thing that drives me most crazy, the lightsaber talked to her, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it might have been interesting too. I was just thinking, if we're gonna if we have to do the thing where Snoke is the one that connects them, it might have been interesting if Snoke was sort of fed up with Kylo Ren because he's been proven himself to be such an inept apprentice that he's trying to corrupt Rey and dispose of Kylo Ren.
Sure.
Instead of just immediately like, we need to kill you! Like, that would have been an interesting thing for Kylo Ren as a character to deal with, I think.
A lot of what makes it hard
and give him more of a motivation to kill Snoke, too.
That's great, and that made me think of this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff that makes it difficult for me to connect with this movie is just information I feel like I need.
Yeah.
A little bit like issues I had with Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
So, with this, we're told vague things, but we don't know details we need.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later with the whole race parents thing. You and I had a half-an-hour conversation about that the other day.
Yeah.
We'll bring some of that into this.
Yeah.
But also with stuff like, okay, we're told that Snoke corrupted him, but how?
Yeah.
Like, from afar, I guess. So that made me think, okay, maybe he's doing the same thing to Rey that he did to Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's potentially interesting.
And maybe that's why she goes into the cave, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cave is.
Me either.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why this. I mean, I guess this isn't a big deal. We just have like this special place where like the Force is especially strong at it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And so you have the balance thing where you have to like have the dark part of the Force and the light part of the Force. But this island is weird and irritating to me because it's so much like the island in Lost, and Abrams didn't even make this movie. I mean, I realize that Abrams also didn't make most of Lost. That was Lindelof. But it's weird because it has, I know you've never seen that show, but it has the same, like, ethereal, like physical lightness thing and darkness thing. And the whole show, it's played like a science fiction show, and then suddenly it's a fantasy thing where the explanation for things is just, well, that's where the darkness comes from, and that's where the lightness comes from. And this mountain just, or this island just reminded me of that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily hate this bit of comedy.
No, I don't either.
I think this kind of works. Like, I laughed at this when I was in the theater. And I like that...
It's so inconsistent comedy-wise that even comedy that works, I'm not sure if it's working.
Oh, really?
You know what
Why?
I mean? Well, just because I'm not trusting it, right? I mean, I guess I'm talking, like, first viewing.
Okay.
So, like, when I got to this scene, like, I'm not trusting it. I'm not liking what Luke Skywalker is like. So that in a movie that's taking itself more seriously, and I haven't just watched a bunch of Spaceball scenes,
Yeah.
I'm going to like better.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they do with Luke Skywalker here, again, is just poor execution. The idea of him giving up is a very different and interesting place to take Luke Skywalker as a character because it seems so contrary to everything we know about him. I just don't buy the reasons why he did this.
Same here.
Like, I don't necessarily disagree with the choice to make him like this. I disagree with how it's executed.
Yeah, when I say I'm, like, first viewing, I wasn't liking what he was like. I was hoping it would win me over on it. But, I mean, he's just unlikable from the beginning.
Yeah, and the thing that doesn't work about it, as we'll get later on in the movie, is Luke Skywalker believes that his genocidal maniac father, who all of his masters believe is so far gone, he's irredeemable. Luke Skywalker defies them and believes that he can be redeemed, and he's right about it.
I know there's good in him somewhere,
He's
and it
right
doesn't matter
about
how
it.
many people he's killed.
And he sees a premonition where Kylo Ren is going to be corrupted by the dark side, and in a moment of weakness, he tries to murder him. That's not what Luke Skywalker would do.
And that whole, I know we're gonna get to that scene later, but that whole thing is played so awkwardly to me, where Kylo Ren sort of oversimplifies it, where it's like he came in and he tried to murder me, and then Luke tries to gain audience sympathy by saying, well, like, I saw the future, and it freaked me out, and so for a split second I turned my lightsaber on, but I wasn't actually going to kill him. Like, it's so awkward, though.
And that doesn't track with, like, who Luke Skywalker is as a character. Like, this is the character who, in the face of the Emperor, turned his lightsaber off and threw it away. He's a very disciplined character, and, like, I just don't buy that he would do that.
And that would be, I would argue, the place where he would be most disciplined, because he hasn't gone through any dark stuff yet.
Exactly. So we're going to get some jargon here from Mark Hamill as to why he believes the Jedi should end in a second here, and it doesn't make any sense. Any sense at all. He says that the Jedi should end because they failed and let Darth Sidious rise and create the Empire. And he said, and keep in mind, we know in this continuity, because Obi-Wan says it in A New Hope, that the Jedi existed for 1,000 generations.
Yeah.
And kept the Republic going for 1,000 generations, and they failed once, and the Empire reigned for how many years? How many decades? They ruled for decades.
Not much.
Decades.
Not more than 30 or 40.
So the Empire was a minor. Like, I mean, I know, like, it was terrible for the people that lived up under it and stuff. A lot of people died. The Empire.
But it's a blip.
It's a blip in the history of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
They are a very successful entity.
Yes.
And
overall, they are. I don't think this movie knows that. Because the way Luke talks about it, it's like it's completely cyclical.
Yeah.
It's like every 40 or 50 years or so, there's an empire, and then there's a republic for a while, and then there's an empire.
This is an idea in Star Wars that does exist. Like, the Sith and the dark side always rises to challenge the Jedi and the Republic, but the Jedi won for 1,000 generations.
Right.
And the Sith have always been the ancient enemy of the Jedi and have always troubled them. But the Jedi existing and successfully defending against the corruption of the dark side for 1,000 generations is pretty successful in my eyes.
No, I'm with you there.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. So in this scene, I wish that we got more of an explanation as to why Kylo Ren killed his dad. He says that he didn't hate him in this scene.
Yeah.
But we don't know why. Like, we don't know anything as to, what motivated him. I realized the thing was, like, he's trying to let the past die, kill the people that he connected him to the light. You know, how, like, Darth Vader was like, Anakin Skywalker's dead to me.
Yeah, I mean, in that moment in Force Awakens, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I always thought the idea was supposed to be, I'm going to do the most horrendous thing I can think of to prove to Snoke that I'm bad.
And it severs his ties from his Ben Solo identity, just like Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because the one thing that brings Anakin Skywalker back to the light is his connection to his family.
Yeah.
Luke is the one that redeems him, and Ben Solo, I would assume, we don't get this in the movie, but I would assume he's thinking, oh, if I sever ties with my father, and how he tries to kill Leia in this and is not able to do it, like, then I'll be able to not be that person anymore. I'll be able to create my own dark side identity or whatever, like Darth Vader did.
Yeah.
But he says he doesn't hate his father in this, and I want to know, like, what their relationship was like. Like, I want to know what kind of a father Han Solo was, you know?
Yeah, because Han Solo seemed to blame himself to some degree.
Yes.
He had a lot of guilt about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, I wasn't the best father, and I wouldn't think Han Solo would be the best father.
No, agreed.
You know, and like, something about their relationship had to do, at least in Han's mind, maybe he was too hard on himself, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in Han's mind, seemed to have had something to do with they're not having the best relationship and maybe feeling like he didn't raise it right.
Well, and I would assume...
And the sense seems to just be Snoke reached out from afar and messed with his brain and he decided to be evil.
Which is stupid because it removes all the agency from the character, right? Like, if it's just a pseudo mind control thing...
Speaking of stupid.
Yeah, here we are.
I hate it so much. I can't begin to describe how obnoxious this all is.
Begin, sir. Begin.
I don't want to, but I will. Okay, so it is honestly this simple.
Yeah.
This is the stupid 50s diner from Star Wars Episode 2 blown up to like 50 times.
It's true.
If you're gonna do a casino, make it a Star Wars casino.
Like the cantina
Like
is
the
a Star
cantina.
Wars bar.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Like, there are recognizable things about that bar in that there are drinks being served.
Yeah.
And there's a live band. But beyond that, it looks alien to me.
Yeah.
And this looks like parody nonsense.
Yeah.
And there's and not even creative parody.
No.
You know, like.
And we missed out on the thing that is ultimately going to cause Finn and Rose to get in trouble in this movie, which is so stupid. They didn't park in the correct place.
I can't even believe they did that.
That is so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that is beyond parody. The reason why these characters' journey is screwed up is because of a misplaced...
A parking violation.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, and I'm not going to reference this too much, but I agree with Plinkett when he says, you know, Red Letter Media, when he says that this movie is organized and scripted like a like a comedy where the main character is a buffoon.
Yeah. Like, he compared it to National Lampoon's Vacation.
And he's right.
Yeah.
That is the structure of this movie.
Yeah, it's so strange.
They can't decide if they're making a comedy or
You know
not.
what's really interesting? You know how, like...
Because there are comedic elements in Star Wars. You can do funny stuff in Star Wars.
So you know what's really interesting?
Yeah.
You know how Kathleen Kennedy and all the people at Lucasfilm said they love what Rian Johnson did in this movie so much that they gave him another trilogy? Who knows if that's going to happen still?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that they fired Lord and Miller because they were trying to make the Solo movie too comedic,
Boy,
and
that's
then this
a great
movie
point.
comes out.
Yeah.
How do these people not see what's happening here?
And it looks like what they were describing to
Yeah,
me. You know,
exactly.
It's like, oh, we got the dailies, and we were like, oh, no.
Oh, no!
We promise we will not do that to it. The next dumbest thing
Yeah.
that these scenes do. Besides this whole, like, and he says lovey like he's in the 30s, and I just want to punch people.
Well, and this guy kind of looks like he's in the suit that Indiana Jones wears at the beginning of Temple of Doom, too.
Oh,
he's got,
that's
like, a white tuxedo.
That's probably what they're
referencing.
Yeah. They're doing an homage. Is that an homage?
I don't know. That's just what I was thinking when I was watching it. It might be that they
another one of those things where
but
they're intentionally subverting expectations because you expect this guy to be the guy that they actually end up going after and coming to help them, and then he's not.
Yeah.
And then we go to Benicio del Toro,
Mm-hmm.
who is an equally weird-looking and put-together
His
character.
performance is so strange.
It's so strange.
So we have Rey. This is how Rey learns to fight with a lightsaber. She swings her pole and lightsaber at a rock, which is literally the worst train to fight anything because you're not fighting anything.
Yeah, it's not even like it's not the same thing as like hitting a bag.
Yeah, because I guess like when I used to do martial arts, we would like hit bags with weapons and stuff, but like she does this for like minutes.
Right, but the reason I say that it's different is because the practice is the opposite of that. She's trying to avoid the rocks.
Yeah.
Like, she fails when she hits them. I guess that's supposed to be the idea, is, like, she's seeing how close she can get to it without actually hitting it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is, because when she goes right through it, like, Luke, like, rolls his eyes and walks away like it's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so unfortunate.
Isn't that what happens?
It's so unfortunate, too, that we set up
But this shot's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
But this shot's so pretty.
It's so unfortunate as a character for Rey that we set her up as a person that wields a staff weapon, and after the lightsaber is destroyed in this movie, it looks like in The Rise of Skywalker she just has it again somehow, and we should have given her a double-bladed lightsaber. That would have been awesome.
I'm so with you. Now, maybe that'll be a big third act thing.
Maybe.
Like, she finally constructs her own lightsaber, because I'm assuming she'll somehow train to be a Jedi in that movie. And maybe if she does that, you don't think they'll go there?
No, they'll do the time jump, and she's a Jedi Master just like Luke was, or a Jedi Knight just like Luke was in Return of the Jedi. It's going to be the same thing.
We don't know where the scene we saw in the trailer winds up in that movie, so of course this is all speculation, but it is possible that she has her own lightsaber and she is wielding it there for some reason.
Well,
and I'm hoping that's what it is.
She's holding Luke's lightsaber, though. Like, we see the hilt.
I'm well aware.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I don't know where that is in the movie. So what I'm saying is, my hope is that somehow she has her own lightsaber, and for some reason in that scene she has his.
Yeah.
But that's not her lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt it. I'm with you. I want it to be double-sided, and I want it to be purple.
That would be awesome.
I want her to have a purple lightsaber.
That would be awesome. So this is the scene I was mentioning earlier where Luke spits all this, like, nonsense jargon that doesn't make sense within the canon.
Yeah.
So the point that Luke and, I guess, this movie tries to come down on is the reason why it's cool that Rey comes from nowhere is that you don't necessarily have to be from a royal bloodline, quote unquote, to use the Force. But like they act like that's a thing that hasn't been in Star Wars before.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan didn't come from a long line of Jedi. Neither did Qui-Gon Jinn. Neither did Mace Windu that we knew of. They're just people that were strong with the Force.
But maybe this movie is assuming they were, because we also don't know anything about their families in the movies.
Yeah, but like it's so weird to just assume that, like, the Force has always been an inherited power. It's a power that can be inherited, but that's not a prerequisite for it.
Yeah, no, we really oversimplified that.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I hate that. And with Rey, it's not that we're assuming that she has that royal bloodline because, like, you know, Luke Skywalker's in the movie, and stuff. It's because his lightsaber talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's connected to it somehow.
Right.
And I always thought the way they would subvert the expectation would be there would be some other explanation where she's not part of the bloodline.
And to be honest, I don't want her to be a Skywalker.
I don't either.
I think that's really dumb.
Yeah.
Like, to have
and
all...
easy.
Yeah, to have all of these people related to each other, like, it makes the world seem small. You know what I mean?
How would you have felt, and obviously they can't do this now, or it would be really insane retconning if they did, but how would you feel if it turned out that she and Kylo Ren really were somehow brother and sister?
I think that would be weird.
I mean, you can't do it now because, like, Leia would know if she had twins.
But it makes it more... it makes the scenes where Rey is like hugging Leia after not knowing anything about her passionately in The Force Awakens make more sense.
Well, sure, okay, yeah, it would do that. But all I'm saying is, it would be an explanation.
It would be an explanation. I hope
it's what a lot of people assume.
I hope that's not what it is, because it would make the romance scenes with them in this movie disgusting.
Yeah, but people say that about like the kiss with Luke and Leia, but that's so small in comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call the stuff that's done in this romance as much as...
But there's sexual tension.
Underlying sexual tension.
Which...
Is it thick enough that it makes it that creepy?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Fair enough.
But it's so unfortunate, right? Like, so the reason why Luke and Leia are brother and sister in Return of the Jedi is because George Lucas was going to introduce another character that was going to be Luke's sister, and they couldn't find a place for her in the plot of the movie, so they just used Leia as a sister instead. So that was not planned. Like, that was not something he had figured out from the beginning. Clearly, because they, like, you know, she pecks him on the cheek when they're swinging across the chasm in the Death Star. Like, she kisses him to make Han jealous.
Within those movies, it works fine.
It does. But it's just so unfortunate that we clearly don't know where we're going in the same exact way.
Yeah.
And we haven't learned anything from that stuff, you know?
No, and I still say that Disney might have intentionally tried to plan these movies the same way the original trilogy was made, just for the sake of some kind of what they thought was cool synergy or something, where it's like, wouldn't it be cool if we just like made episode 7 and we had no idea where we were going? And I'm like, but you know you're making 3 movies, and but you have to have some sense of direction. You don't have to plan them all out entirely. You don't have to have like scene by scene breakdowns, but you got to be writing toward an ending, and they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think the fact that they originally had 3 different directors hired to direct these movies speaks to the fact that they were trying to replicate that success.
And you know what? You can do that, but you have to have a showrunner if you're going to do
that. Exactly. Yeah.
You got to have one guy. If it's Abrams, if it's Rian Johnson, if it's Kasdan, whoever it is, you got to have one guy who maps it out. Or there's got to be a writer's room. They could have all had a writer's room, mapped it out.
Well, it's interesting too. Like, imagine.
But all they did was keep passing it. Where it was like, okay, like an improv troupe. Where it's like, okay, I did this scene. Now you do a scene, and I keep saying this. The biggest issue with this movie is that Rian Johnson doesn't know the rules of improv.
Well, he doesn't know the rules of Star Wars, doesn't know the rules of improv.
Yeah, because you know what I'm saying when I say that?
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? The main number one rule of improv is, when you're in a scene with someone, you can't contradict anything they said.
Yeah.
Anything they say is there, and you also can't try to like force things like in a weird way into what you really wish it was. Like, you got to run with what's there.
Yeah.
You can take it in new directions, but you can't cheat.
As crazy as this movie is, if they had originally went with the showrunner of the Jurassic House franchise to direct this movie and write it like they originally planned, Episode 9 would have been insane.
I can't decide if I don't want that or I do want that. So earlier I did not get a chance to finish my statement. We're here now, so I'm going to say it now.
Yeah.
Second dumbest thing about the
shooting. Because we
know
the
casino stuff.
Because we know in Star Wars the currency they use is not gold coins. They use credits, and it's said in the prequels.
I didn't think about that, but could the Empire or could the First Order have changed it?
I mean, the First Order's been reigning for like a day.
True.
They don't have enough time to change the entire currency of the galaxy.
Could this have been a First Order planet the whole time?
Well, they're selling weapons to the Resistance, so I don't think so.
So probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's even dumber than I thought it was. I was just saying it's dumb because, again, BB-8 is a cartoon character, and he can do whatever we want him to do in a scene.
Yeah.
And, here's a fun idea. Let's have him shoot gold at people. Here's a fun idea. Let's have him drive a droid that's 12 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Never mind how he got in it.
So this is one of the worst scenes in the movie for me, too, because it makes these characters look morally reprehensible. So Rose and Finn...
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
Is that kid supposed to be the kid at the very end?
Yeah, it's the same kid.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so these people inspire these kids. They let all of these horse rabbits out. One of them escapes and they say it's worth it, and they make no attempt to free these kids from crippling, back-breaking slavery.
Oh my god, that's true.
They don't try to save the children, and Rose is like, we saved one horse rabbit that's definitely going to get captured in about 10 minutes by these guards. It was worth it.
And she's like so proud of herself.
Yeah.
I never thought about
so
that.
Because
you never, you know what? My eyes glazed over so much during this period, I didn't know what those kids were doing there or what the heck was happening.
No, they're slaves.
But like Qui-Gon, they didn't come here to rescue slaves, Dan.
Yeah.
That's not what they came here to do.
The boy and his mother.
So I want to complain about this movie not being timeless thing again for a minute because I'm a broken record and I don't care. It's all I want to complain about.
Yeah.
I keep complaining about the casino stuff. I'm bringing it up again to say that as I've said before and recently on the Phantom Menace Superhero Rewind.
Yeah.
With everything that movie does wrong, it's the one thing it really got right, and it's just nuts that we still can't figure that out.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, Episode 1 does not feel like a product of 1999.
No, it doesn't.
This feels like a product of the year it came out. 2017.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Which I guess...
And I think Force Awakens was better about that.
No, I think Force Awakens felt, like, very consistent with the tone and feel of Star Wars.
There's just a few comedic beats here and there where I go, you would not have written that in 1977.
Sure, I agree.
That's all.
Yeah.
But that stuff's minor. This is major.
Yeah.
This is not.
This is
not
like
minor
MCU
issues.
humor in here.
Yeah, but to the nines.
Yeah.
Or like Ragnarok.
Yeah, exactly. So this scene is just boring?
Yeah.
Because the guards have shown themselves to be incompetent, and they're all idiots, and you know that they're going to get away.
So this is a 2.5 hour movie,
yeah.
And I was drinking a Coke when I was watching this the first time around.
Yeah.
This was the scene where I got up and went to the bathroom. I was like, they're writing these rabid alpaca things. I don't care.
I remember in the lead up to this movie, like
now this is pod racing.
Yeah, I remember in the lead up to this movie, people were like, they like released a still of these creatures with Finn and Rose on them, and they were like, oh my god, what could these things be? They're going to play such a cool, important role in the movie. And then you see it, and you're like, oh.
Oh. No, they're not. And what's worse, we care more about the animals than the children.
Who are slaves.
Who are slaves.
Like they.
And that makes it feel like a forced-in animal rights thing or something.
It does,
to me.
yeah. Well, we make a point to see, like, the horse rabbits being tortured with the stun gun by the guards and stuff, so it's like, feel bad for the horse rabbits. Like, and I mean, I sympathize, like, we should torture animals, I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I don't care about the horse rabbits,
But
okay?
I care about the children slaves more than I care about the horse rabbits, to be honest.
Yeah, well, and these are also, like, not great-looking CG creatures, so they're not even there to me, so I just don't care.
Exactly.
And for the record, worse than the Snoke face, okay? I really don't like what those look like.
Oh,
they don't look like they're there to me. I still say we got Jar Jar Binks right in 1999, and 20 years later, in Star Wars movies, we can't get it right sometimes. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
I'll give Maz a pass. That is a hard face to pull off and make it look realistic. They do as well as they can with that.
Why did BB-8 go with this guy, and how did they find the ship?
Hold on. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
BB-8 is a very trusting droid.
And he's just a plot device whenever they need, like, something to get them out of a scary situation that there doesn't look like there's any way out of. Like, they do this, he does the same thing with the AT-ST in the Imperial hangar later.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's true of R2-D2, but he didn't feel like a plot device. He felt like he had, like, rigid rules of what he could do.
Yeah.
And he was not a plot device. He was serviceable for the story in the way that, like, a supporting character would be.
Exactly.
And he doesn't have, like, a real thick character or nothing because he's a droid, and it's questionable whether or not he's even sentient. But
well, it's clear. I mean, it's clear he has a personality because, like, C-3PO tells him to watch his language and stuff, so he's like a foul-mouthed beeping droid, you know.
Yeah, and BB-8 feels like
he's very persistent.
A toddler to me.
Yeah.
If he's got any personality at all.
Yeah.
You with me on that? Kind of a toddler.
I think in The Force Awakens he had more of a personality.
Sure.
Because I liked him a lot in The Force Awakens.
I still think he's kind of a toddler.
Sure.
I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm trying to peg what he is if he has a personality.
Yeah. Why did you hate your father?
Could you, like, put on a shirt or something? Remember that line?
Yeah. Hey, there it is. Do you remember that line?
Okay, so I don't like to talk too much about subtitles, but we're watching this movie with subtitles, and the subtitles got that line wrong, and it's hilarious. Because she says, could you put a towel on or something? And the subtitle said cowl, and I think that's really funny. Could you put on a bat suit or something for me there, Kylo Ren?
Well, I'm with her. I wish he would still wear his hood and stuff like he had in The Force Awakens. I love the hooded movie.
I wish he'd put on a bat suit. I think that'd be amazing.
Adam Driver for Batman. He wouldn't make a Batman.
Move over, Adam West. Here comes Adam Driver. He wouldn't. Although I'm seeing him for Nightwing way harder, right? Like,
I think he's a little too. I don't think he has the peppy personality that's necessary to play Dick Grayson.
You know what? And also, like, he's not conventionally handsome. He would be better as a Bruce Wayne, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And he feared it.
You know what? If we were really concerned about avoiding controversy, we could have just spent this whole movie fan casting actors in this movie for other things. Look at that face! Like I said, all of this is going to be so super awkward when it's going to be played as sort of unreliable narrator, but not really.
Mm-hmm. And
wiki writing, Dan.
Well, and it's strange to me that Kylo Ren, like, not only remembers Mark Hamill with his lightsaber. I mean, Mark Hamill. It's a Freudian slip because he doesn't act like Luke.
Do you remember Mark Hamill?
It's strange that he remembers Luke Skywalker, like, literally trying to murder him when I'm not even sure what happened. Like, did he take a swing at him?
Well, and then the question is he lying to Rey? Because you had that question about the parents thing, like, is that supposed to be unreliable narrator? Is he intentionally leaving out details and, like, fudging it? Because then later Luke is going to say, well, in a moment of weakness, I turned my lightsaber on, I hadn't planned on doing anything with it, and then he saw that and he attacked me.
I get, and
is Kylo remembering it wrong, or is he lying?
And I get that they're trying to do a play on the from a certain point of view thing that Obi-Wan talks about.
Yes.
That's what they're trying to do, but it's such a wide gulf between, like, you just have your lightsaber on and you're standing in a room and trying to murder him. You know what I mean?
You remind me of the thing I wanted to ask you about earlier, which is, retroactively, with the way Luke talks about the old Jedi Council in this, with the end of the Old Republic, are we supposed to finally, for sure, go back and read the prequels as there was something off about the Jedi and they didn't know what they were doing?
I don't know. Because
those movies cannot decide if the Jedi are, like, morally ambiguous or not. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to decide if this movie has said for sure, yes, they were.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm not... Based on the fact that they don't seem to understand the history of the Jedi Order that's talked about in the original trilogy, I doubt they have any sort of definitive stance on that either.
You know what I don't understand?
What?
What's going on in this scene?
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know what we're supposed to take from any of this.
I think
is this just nothing symbolism? Like,
her seeing her reflection in the mirror after asking who her parents are is, of course, foreshadowing that, like, she's not going to get the answer that she wants, and that she needs to be able to stand on her own regardless of who her parents are, I guess. But I don't understand what all this, like, duplication means.
I don't know what it means. And it's interesting, but like in the theater at least, it was an interesting image where I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, and then I never could read it.
I've always maintained one of the more interesting ideas for Rey's backstory is that she's like a clone of somebody, and I was thinking maybe that's what they're going for here.
Interesting.
But
I wish I was watching closer, because when I saw this in the theater, I think I saw this twice in the theater.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that for some reason in this cave, suddenly her outfit and hair changed completely, and then she's got this the rest of the movie, and I don't know if I'm right about it.
You're wrong about that, yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, her hair comes undone when it's wet, and she has the same outfit she's been wearing since she got on Octo 2. She changes her outfit right before she goes to see Kylo Ren in the pod.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But this is still the outfit she had in the last movie?
Oh, no. Well, at the end of the last movie. That, like, jacket thing she wears.
She changed it. Okay.
So she's in a different outfit in the Millennium Falcon at the end of Force Awakens.
Is that right? Okay.
And then she's wearing this outfit until she goes to see Kylo Ren. She has her more Jedi-looking robes on.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I was not assuming I was right about that, but I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
Man, she probably needs to wash these clothes, man.
I agree. I agree. Well, she just had a free bath, so she's good now.
Yeah. And then he's like, could you like dry your hair or something?
Yeah. So
Could you put on a Batgirl suit or something?
I kind of like the image of this scene in the hut where they're like about to touch hands and stuff. Like, I wonder what would have happened if they had actually done that too.
Yeah, well, I assume they would have actually touched because there's a lot of tangible stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Like, we've got condensation going from one side to the other side.
But it seems like Luke is, like, really concerned that this is happening. Is it just that they're, like, he's concerned they're communicating? Or is he concerned that, like, them touching each other will do something in the Force? I don't know.
I'm going as far as he's making the leap that if she gets too close to him at all, she's going to automatically go to the dark side.
Just like she did with the cave.
Because he's... And I don't know what that's about either.
Me either, yeah.
And that's really interesting. What does it mean that she goes right to the dark? And then there's this mirrored thing connecting these two characters where he naturally goes to the light and is fighting that, and she naturally goes to the dark and is fighting that. Did Luke naturally go to the light or the dark? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
He was always tempted by the dark side with his lack of patience that Yoda talks about, and when he goes into the cave, he pulls out his lightsaber and it warns him that if he continues on this path, he'll become Darth Vader.
I always saw that as the natural state of being. I always saw that as human condition.
Yeah, sure.
And how come we have these two extremes in these two characters? I mean, like, we need to know that.
Well, and Snoke has a throwaway line in this movie where he's like, you know, darkness rises and light to meet it, as if, like, the dark and light side of the Force are perpetually going to be in conflict through, like, avatars of the representations of those two sides of the Force or something.
Oh, interesting.
And that's an idea that has been in the EU and has been explored before, but they don't expound upon it here. And how is it possible that...
I like the idea of literal avatars.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do some cool stuff with that.
How is it possible that Rey, a person that picked up a lightsaber literally days ago, is able to beat Jedi Master Luke Skywalker in a hand-to-hand fight? It makes no sense.
No, it's ridiculous. And it's easy to say, like, well, he's an old man. Well, okay, I guess it's that he's not using the Force right now, right?
Yeah, but Rey is such a novice
that
she doesn't really know how to use the Force either.
Do they think it's enough that we had a token scene where she was training with a lightsaber and we're supposed to think that she was messing with that a lot more than she was?
I don't know.
Is that what it is? Or is it just that in that scene she's using the Force, so it was like the Force that knocked him down? And, like, I'm grasping at straws, man.
It doesn't... I just don't know.
But yeah, so see, Kylo Ren was an unreliable narrator by, like, 10%.
And I like the fact that Luke still has conflict in him.
Yes, of course.
I like that idea. I just don't buy the fact that he would go this far.
Yeah, because human beings are always challenged to change.
Like, it almost undermines all of the development he had in the original trilogy in the same way that Han Solo is reduced to being the same character he is in A New Hope, basically, despite all the development he had in Empire and Jedi, you know?
Yeah, but this is even weirder because you would expect him to be exactly the character that he was when we last saw him, not like this total...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. And again, I'm not criticizing it for not being the thing I expected in that Luke Skywalker needs to be the same character he is at the end of Jedi.
I'm not either.
I just don't buy the explanation as to why he's different.
And a lot of that is because it's just not fleshed out enough.
Exactly. Like, I think a lot of people strawman people who dislike this movie and say, like, you don't like it because you don't like what they did with Luke Skywalker because it's different than what you saw in the EU or you imagined. No, that's not my criticism of it.
And if you liked Force Awakens, you wanted a beat-for-beat remake of Return of Empire.
Yeah.
Which is also not what I wanted.
Exactly.
I needed this movie to not remind me of Empire at all. And it does both things.
And it reminds me of Jedi in many places too.
Yeah, sure.
Like, especially the throne room stuff.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
The throne room drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I meant to talk about that when we saw it earlier.
Well, we'll talk about that fight, because it's awful.
Oh, you think?
Oh, it's terrible.
But we're talking about in the big red room, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird to have red on red. I've always complained about that.
Interesting.
Where you have those red guards standing on a red background. When I first saw it, it took me a minute to even tell they were there.
Oh, weird.
Because they're red guards on a red background. Why would you do that?
So here we have Yoda, who's going to behave like... I mean, Red Letter Media talks about it in their video. I think it's the Half in the Bag they talk about this, how Yoda starts behaving like the facade he's using to trick Luke into thinking he's just some sort of weird, goofy creature before he reveals himself to be a Jedi Master to see how patient Luke is. Like, and Luke's and Yoda's demeanor immediately changes once he reveals himself, and he's very serious and says that Luke is going to be afraid of training in the Force, and he's very ominous about that. Like, Yoda is not, like, that's not who he is as a character. Like, that was all facade, you know what I mean? And even in the prequels, we don't do goofy Yoda either.
No. The only way I can read it, and, like, the obvious answer is, yeah, they're wanting you to go, I remember that from Empire.
Yeah.
The only way I can read it, but I feel like I am giving it too much credit when I say this, is, and again, grasping at straws, buddy, is, I guess, just he's going that far in pretending to be goofy Yoda to tell Luke that he's taking himself too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I don't think it works.
I don't think it works either. And I don't think it works that it's Yoda that tries to tell him this lesson about being a failed master. Like, why is this not Obi-Wan? Obi-Wan had the same exact experience as Luke. He would have much more pertinent advice to give him, I would think.
I'm totally with you. You know what the answer to that is?
No, they couldn't bring back...
Awkward casting.
Yeah, they couldn't bring back Alec Guinness, obviously.
Yeah, that'd be it.
They could have dressed Ewan McGregor up to make him look a little older, I think.
I think that would have been fine, but they're probably thinking that's too awkward, so we're not going to do it. But this is as awkward or more so.
And the general public, I think, is more familiar with the iconic image of Yoda than they are Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Do you agree with this statement or not? We have now made Force Ghosts too powerful.
Yeah. I mean...
Like, really? He's a Force Ghost and he can rain fire down?!
So we see in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan's Force Ghost sitting on a log, so we know they can, like, interact with the physical world in some way, but I didn't think they'd be able to, like, call fire and lightning down from the sky.
No!
But I guess that's just so ill-defined that it's not contradictory, it's just more powerful than I thought Force Ghosts were before.
But at that point, I'm not going to care when any Jedi dies.
No one's ever really.
Yeah, because essentially they're because like, okay, so you live a while and you have the Force and you can call on it and you have some cool superpowers. It's not a power you have. Well, it sort of is. Whatever. And then when you die, you become a god.
So this advice that Yoda gives to Luke, I think, is pertinent advice about, like, you should learn from your failures and all that. I think that's very good life advice. But I hear people
that failures are important to pass down to pupils. I mean, I like that a lot.
I like that, but, like, the people say, like, that like this movie, they say, like, oh, Luke Skywalker has succeeded in the original trilogy so much he needs to learn about failure. The entirety of The Empire Strikes Back is Luke Skywalker failing at almost everything. Like, that shouldn't be a lesson that this character needs to learn again. You know?
I'm of two minds about it, because I think it's two really different kinds of failure.
But it's still failure. You know what I mean? Like, you should, like, regardless of what the failures you have in your life are, if you don't learn, like learning from them is something that you generally do with all failures if you're a well-adjusted person, you know? Like, I don't think it's siloed into, like, oh, I'm a master, so I don't know how to learn from this failure where I learned from all the other failures I've had in my life.
It's because we're oversimplifying it and we're putting it in those terms, right?
Yeah.
The idea that Luke would, blame himself for Kylo Ren and think that we really shouldn't have Jedi around anymore because I couldn't manage all of that. Like, I don't know that that's character progression if you write it right.
Maybe. I mean, I think they should have spun it more like he needs to learn how to be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Rather than learning about failure.
I think that's what they think they're doing.
Yeah,
but keep in mind,
sense.
This movie oversimplifies everything with broad platitudes.
Yeah.
When we get to the end, we're going to have some characters, including Leia, talking like characters do in CW superhero shows.
Mm-hmm.
About love and hope and that kind of stuff, and these just like kind of nauseating platitude lines.
Right.
And I see that as almost that whole thing. So, like, yeah, I like Yoda's advice out of context.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I think that line is very pertinent, you know? Like, if that is a line that Yoda said to Luke during Empire, I'd really like it.
Sure,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, or if Obi-Wan had said it to Anakin at some point. I mean,
Sure.
there's good places for specifically that line.
Exactly.
Ooba dooba.
So this is just the most boring thing ever.
And it's made more boring by the fact that I never buy this whole situation.
Yeah.
The entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Look out a window. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Remind me how exactly the I keep wanting to say the Empire. The First Order isn't tracking their ships right now. I don't even remember.
So the issue
I
is
forget.
Finn and Rose are trying to get onto Snoke's ship to disable the tracker, so they're not able to track them through hyperspace. Right now they are. They're tracking the big cruiser that has a hyperspace engine on it, and the escape crafts don't.
That I remember, but so the First Order knows where they are right now.
Yes.
So why doesn't it kill them?
Well, their shields are still up, and their shields are going down, and they're running out of fuel. That's supposed to be the tension.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it works, but that's what it's supposed to be.
I feel like the First Order has, bear with me a minute, a lot of ships.
Yeah.
And the Rebels have not a lot of ships.
Which doesn't make sense.
And I feel
but given the status quo, that's
how they
correct,
made up the status quo. Right, so you're
Yeah.
tracking me so far for the moment? Okay, alright. So what if you took, like, a Star Destroyer or a whole bunch of TIE Fighters, and you just all fired on the ships with shields on them, just like boom, 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 and you just fire on them, and then boom, 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 and then wouldn't the shields, like, keep going down like shields do?
Yes, they would.
You ever watched a Star Trek episode?
You ever seen Star Wars?
You ever seen any Star Trek episode? You know how like where there's an enemy ship that fires? You know how in Star Trek...
that happens in Star Wars, too. They
exactly.
lose
That's my point.
Too.
That's my point. You know, like in both of these things,
Yeah.
where we'll have somebody else say, like, shields down, do 61%. Shields down, do 35%. They should be firing on them.
Instead of...
What am I missing?
You're not missing anything.
Really?
It's just dumb. Yeah.
So I'm right, and the whole situation doesn't make any sense.
Maybe I think actually
I'm
I
so
remember
confused.
them. I think I actually remember them saying something about the ships being out of range of their weapons or something.
So that's a throwaway.
Yeah.
Like.
But we
explanation.
also saw the Star Destroyer fire on a base on a planet from farther away than they are from the ship, so that doesn't really make sense either.
That's like the end of First Contact, where they're like, we're like, they can't track us because we're on the other side of the moon.
Yeah.
We're on the other side of the moon, so nobody knows where we are.
This is just, it doesn't make sense.
I just always assumed I was so disinterested in this stuff that I'm missing something.
You're missing how it's so simple yet complex.
Is she in a coffin?
It's a nerd coffin.
She's just come out of a nerd coffin. So when he pulls out the space handcuffs, and we get that look from her where her look seems to say, like, oh, it's Kylo Ren. I wonder what he's gonna do, because we just had like that whole connection thing. Well, he just sent stormtroopers and I'm gonna get arrested again. I wanted to cut back to her face to get another reaction to that. It's weird to go handcuffs and then cut like just this is just an editing thing, but also she should have had this face that's like, oh man. That's not
and it's the same exact. It's the same exact beat as Jedi, right? Like Luke turning himself into Darth Vader. He gets the handcuffs put on him. They go to the throne room. It's the same. It's the same thing.
That's true. But just in the scene, isn't the cut weird? Isn't it weird? Handcuffs, and then you like cut to another scene.
I guess
it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird cutting.
I suppose
it's weird.
And now we have the most logical mutiny ever, because this character's awful and is condescending to everyone and doesn't appear to have a plan.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
A mutiny on a starship? What?
And, like, the thing I don't really understand... Oh, this is the worst.
Oh, the iron?
Yeah.
I remember in the theater just, like, throwing my head back.
Yeah,
I was
like, what is this movie? And
I have an answer. It's Spaceballs, okay? Because that's a Spaceballs scene.
And have you noticed that in every Disney Star Wars movie they have to do the token masquerading as Imperials thing from New Hope in literally every movie they've made?
Oh my god, you're wrong.
Every single one of them.
We always do it.
It happens in Force Awakens. It happens in this movie. It happens in Rogue One, and it happens in Solo.
Look, you guys, it's not a Lego Star Wars game, okay? like we're gonna do it in Lego Star Wars every time, but it's sort of understandable. It's a video game.
This movie subverts expectations because it does the same exact thing as every other movie they've made.
Yeah, but see, it's different because the payoff is the opposite, Dan.
Yeah.
That's why it's different.
Yeah.
And that whole subverting expectations argument is weird to me because I did not expect it to by this movie do all the same beats, whether or not you paid them off in opposite ways or not. I really didn't. When I heard this movie was going to be, air quotes, weird, I thought that meant, like, he's going off in a whole other direction.
Yeah.
And that's not what we did. And then when we get to the end, we've got to really reset status quo to essentially what it was at the beginning of A New Hope, except way worse. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that argument comes from the logic of Star Wars is so played out, there's nowhere else to go. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree either.
That's not true. I've read some EU Star Wars stuff now. People can't see me waving my hand, but I'm waving my hand right now because it bothers me.
I agree. I mean, as a fan of the old EU, like, I definitely agree.
They don't all do the same beats. It's not always Rebellion Empire. It's not always cyclical. It's like...
Well, and this thing that's strange to me is the first set of movies that Disney tried to make has really great source material you could have pulled from. The Thrawn trilogy is, like, one of the best EU things. And that everyone knows and loves that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to necessarily do Thrawn or anything like that. Just do something that adapts some of that stuff.
Yeah, and The Force Awakens, except for those alien things that repel the Force, because I hate those. They're
okay.
dumb. But don't do that. That's stupid. But that's the only thing in Thrawn of what I read so far that I thought was dumb. But I thought that was kind of dumb. But anyway, but like with the status quo with Force Awakens, it's so much more like dull and uninspired after I read Thrawn.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, we kind of had a 7, 8, and 9, and
they're way better. Yeah.
I haven't read all that yet, but
it's really
I've been through the first book, and it's so good.
You're gonna love it. It lives up to the quality of the first one, the next two as well.
But it's hard to read them because they hurt these hurt my feelings more.
Yeah.
When I'm reading them.
Yeah.
When I'm like, oh, this is what could have been.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, as a Star Wars fan, is it made a lot worse to you because that stuff was canonicized? Like, does it bother you? Does it hurt your feelings?
I mean, I'm always gonna have like all that stuff that I can go back and read. I'm kind of like not. I just, at this point, in terms of building a coherent canon, I've kind of like given up on that because this movie is just so nonsensical and doesn't understand Star Wars even at all. That and The Force Awakens has these kind of issues too, because retroactively this movie doesn't understand how the Force works, and it makes all this stuff with Rey make even less sense than it did in that movie.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I've thrown my hands in the air, and I'm like, I just want you to make good Star Wars movies at this point. The canon is, unfortunately, sure. I can't bring myself to care about it in the way that I used to, you know?
Well, and
which is sad.
I like that with the current canon, but it just kind of sucks that some of that great stuff in the EU isn't official anymore. We're not building more on it. Like, Eric wants them to write more Legends books, and I wish they'd do that. And that'd be really cool.
Disney was putting out a few of them, like right after they bought the rights with the Legends banner, because it was already stuff in production.
Right.
But I don't know if they're probably not going to continue doing that.
But I wish they would treat it like Abrams and Prime Continuity with Star Trek, where it's like we'll do some more stuff that's in the original continuity that we had.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that with Trek, the books and stuff were never canonical, but we're not. But we're making stuff that's not Abrams.
Yeah. It's everyone's favorite character.
It's my son's favorite character and nobody else's. Here comes Captain Phasma. She's a phasmatic.
She is a non-character. I think it's so funny, like, when you listen to Gwendolyn Christie interview, she, like, talks about how relatable Captain Phasma is, and all that, and it's like, she doesn't have a character.
It's like, I've got this great female character for little girls. I'm like, you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and you relate to her? She's a space Nazi!
Yeah, my wife thought she was a robot until this movie! I could not convince her that she wasn't a droid until we saw her eyeball! And she still irritatingly insists that she's a droid. She's like, I don't care if there was an eyeball. She's a human-looking droid.
So we're going to introduce, like, Terminator-esque technology in Star Wars now. That's what it's going to be.
She is a T-800 Phasma.
I wouldn't put it past these people at this point, to be honest.
I wouldn't either. No, this kind of, and this is going to take off people who like this movie, but we're just calling it like we see it, and I'm not pulling punches.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give it its due where I think it's worth
it.
I mean, there's stuff I like in this movie.
I like almost everything with Kylo Ren in this movie until he becomes screaming space Nazi after it looks like he's gonna go in a different direction after he kills Snoke.
I think let everything them both die. I'm like, that's not what you really want, though.
Leading up to that moment where he's like, blow that piece of junk out of the sky. I love everything they do with him.
Yeah,
almost everything is great.
He's just been spending too much time with Hux, is the thing. He's a sponge, is what you don't know, Dan.
Yeah.
And if you hang out with Hux for any amount of time, and you're Kylo Ren, you're just gonna start talking like him.
Yeah.
You know, so he's just gonna be like, "Rah, get the rebels!" Rah!
And it's funny that they start calling the Resistance the Rebellion at some points in this movie. Like, we're not even pretending that they're a different thing anymore.
Yeah.
Save the rebellion. Save the dream.
I like it. Save the cheerleader. Save the world. I like this Rey outfit more than the original Rey outfit.
I do. I do too.
I really do. I love it. I love Daisy Ridley. I love her
Me
so
too.
much.
Yeah. See, this is the throwaway line I was talking about, like the light rising to meet the darkness and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is just like broad and ethereal, and I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to take from it? I don't know what it means.
Yeah,
explain it to me, Dan!
I'm with you.
I don't understand. Okay, can you explain this to me?
Sure.
Okay? Because this is going to happen in the scene we're watching here in just a minute, okay? I'm not going to wait till it happens. I got to set it up, right?
Okay.
So, how come... Well, actually, I have this question for the whole movie. Why are Force users not sensing what other Force users are going to do, but other times they do? How come he doesn't know that Kylo Ren's gonna kill him with a lightsaber?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
How's he? Okay.
And he's supposed to be like the most powerful dark side
okay.
user in the galaxy?
Is he?
Yeah.
That's what he's so vague, I don't know anything about him, so he just seems like a stand-in for the Emperor with a creepier face. He's just Voldemort Emperor.
So when I was keeping up with the new canon before this movie came out, and I was like, oh, there's no point in keeping up with any of this, they always made it seem like Snoke was this very ethereal, mysterious being from the unknown regions that was like alive and watched Palpatine from the Empire and was supremely powerful.
And a lot of people thought that he'd been
side.
around for like thousands of years or something.
That's what the impression that they made in the extra material.
That
yeah,
maybe he was even Plagueis or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why people were speculating about that. And it's weird.
Oh, okay. He's a CG face because he's that big. So he is bigger than a normal person.
Yes, he is.
Like his head is a lot bigger than Rey's head.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I actually forgot what I was going to say.
You were talking about that he was watching.
I was actually going to mention your criticism about the throne room scene where the Force's rules aren't consistent at all. You'll see when we get to the fight, Rey and Kylo Ren forget that they can use the Force in fights.
Yeah.
They don't use the Force at all.
But apparently in that moment, Snoke is like half using the Force. He's like, I can see what she's going to do, or what he's going to do. He's turning the lightsaber. And I was like, how do you not know his intentions then? Like, how do you not know where he's gonna? How does it work?
He's going to strike his true enemy, and then he has a pooping face on, and then he gets cut in half.
Yeah, I don't understand how he doesn't know.
But isn't that? It annoys me so much that
you're absolutely
they have this supposedly epic fight with these guards. The fight choreography is awful. There's a video on YouTube I'll show you after of a professional Hollywood stuntman analyzing the choreography of that fight, and the guards just like wait around for them to go get into position. Like they don't just attack them. Like a guard will be standing in the background like a fighting game character, waiting for them to come
ridiculous.
up. It's awful. And I hear people say that that's one of the best scenes in the movie, and I just don't agree with that. You know, it doesn't make sense within the rules of the universe, and it's badly choreographed.
I think people love it because that was my favorite moment in the movie until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Not that fight.
Yeah.
But them going back to back.
Sure.
I was so excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, wait, we're doing this?
Yeah, I agree with that, for sure.
That's where they did subvert my expectations, and I was excited.
And
then they went back to what I thought they'd do, and I didn't care anymore.
Exactly. It's like a non-reveal.
Yeah, okay. I can sum up my issues with this movie in a single word, Dan. Yeah. Every time this movie irritates me and it's not fun anymore, the movie is saying, psych!
Yeah.
Like, my review of this movie, psych!
Mm-hmm. And have you seen the deleted scene in this where Rose bites Hux's hand, and he has like a really comedic freak out, like, "Oh my god!"
I'm glad that's not in the movie.
Yeah, it's awful.
Although feel free to do that anytime you want to. That was pretty funny.
And furthermore, was this DJ guy? Like, I don't understand what's going on with this deal they're making with him here.
DJ guy.
Well, that's his name. It's the worst Star Wars name ever. His name is DJ.
Wait,
not that
his
DJ
name
is a bad name. I'm
He's
sorry,
like-
DJ. Your name's not bad.
He's like, yeah, like, don't insult my chat moderator.
No, I'm not. But it's
DJ, did you know you're in Star Wars?
But like, really, of all the names you could come up with, you called the guy DJ?
Is it like DEEJAY?
No, it's just DJ.
No way.
Yes.
That's not a Star Wars name.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's the word.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Have you been waiting for like Rey to get a last name at some point?
So
I'm assuming the reason
it's
she
going to
doesn't
happen in
is-
Rise of Skywalker,
Oh, is it?
supposedly. The rumor is that they're going to use
It
Rey on
actually
all
is
of the
Skywalker?
promotional material, and they're going to reveal what her real name in the movie, and it's going to be something other than Rey. That's the rumor right now.
Okay.
On like all the Star Wars like Reddit like leaks and stuff, supposedly. Who knows if any of that's true?
And are
but-
you still worried that she actually will be a Skywalker? Or do you think they won't do that?
The speculation right now is that the Jedi Order is going to end, and she's going to make a new order called the Skywalkers. So she will be a Skywalker in that, like, she's a Jedi.
So Rise of Skywalker is supposed to be
The
like
rise of the
Return
new version of the Jedi Order.
Because it's like now we have this other thing that is Jedi Rising.
That's
so
just
the Last
rumor, yeah.
Jedi, and then we.
That's just rumor territory, but that's what it's rumored what's going to happen.
It's really silly to say like this is the end of the quote unquote Skywalker saga, and then you change the word Jedi to Skywalker.
If that's what they're doing.
Yeah, if that's what they do, my immediate reaction is that sounds dumb.
I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
But see, look, red on red. It cracks me up so much. They're just like.
I now sense resolve. And I want to know, like, this resolve he's talking about, like, when did Kylo Ren gain this, like, insight that he wanted to kill Snoke? Was it right after the scene where he dressed him down and he smashed his helmet in the elevator? Was his plan to bring Rey here the entire time so she could help him kill Snoke? Like, I just don't... That's not fleshed out enough for me, personally.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah. And it frustrates me because
You're saying
Kylo Ren...
we don't even know what Kylo Ren's doing exactly.
Yeah.
Like he brought her here to him. I guess that's all he was trying to do. But
Yeah.
but you're right. When did the motivation happen? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I could see them using the thing in the elevator as that motivation. I think that could work if it's explored more, you know?
Well, and I'm with you. I want to love that thing in the elevator.
Yeah.
I like him. I like just the image of him crushing the helmet like the Vader helmet was crushed. Because we had that, because he kept the Vader helmet in the first movie, and he was like worshiping it, and then he crushes his helmet, and then they zoom in on it. It looks like the crushed Darth Vader helmet. I think that's on purpose.
It doesn't really look like it though.
You know what I mean?
No.
Okay. I remember in the theater thinking that's what they were doing.
Oh, okay. But I liked it for like him like escaping the legacy of Darth Vader and being his own man and stuff. But,
well, of
like,
course that too.
That.
But I thought that was part of that, where it was like I'm leaving Vader behind. I've crushed Kylo Ren the way Vader was crushed. I thought was what that image was.
Well,
that's why I said that.
Well, that wouldn't really make sense though, because he's doing that to be Kylo Ren even more.
Well, I guess I just mean the version of Kylo Ren that's like I'm trying to be Vader. You know what I mean? That's all.
I see what you mean.
That's what the helmet represented.
Okay.
Because what I'm saying is like moving forward, I don't know if this character should even keep calling himself Kylo Ren. I would think like Kylo Ren is the Darth Vader version, and then like this would be like a dark version of a guy named Ben.
Well,
right?
it's just not explored enough, right?
No, it's not.
Because Abrams said in the lead up to The Force Awakens and all the interviews in the press.
What's behind the curtain? I want to know what's behind the curtain.
In the press junket he was doing, he was saying that the Knights of Ren are not the Sith. They're something different.
Right.
So like, Kylo Ren worships the Sith, but is something different than them, and we don't know what the difference between them is in the same way that we don't know what the difference between the First Order and the Empire is. Like, that could have been interesting, like, getting rid of, like, his connection and worship for the Sith to make something new. But we just don't know what the Knights of Ren are, because they're not even in this movie.
You can't set all that stuff up in your first movie and then say to the next guy, just run with whatever, and not even give him notes and stuff about what the point of any of that was?
Well, Abrams did give him notes, but he threw them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what the story was there.
Yeah. And this movie was written...
So that's not on Abrams, then?
So in the first movie, the first draft of this movie was written before Force Awakens was done filming as well. So Abrams gave him, like, notes and stuff with what he wanted to do, like, after, I guess, the first draft of this was completed, I would assume.
Okay.
And then he just didn't do anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
It is weird.
That's a strange way to make a franchise.
It's a strange way to make a Star Wars movie as well.
Yeah.
Like, just any franchise, but, like, especially with this.
Uh-huh. And again, I know I keep saying mysteries, and I know there's a lot of people who don't like Force Awakens because they say that Star Wars is supposed to be about mysteries.
See, and I disagree with that.
Do you?
Like, the Force is a mysterious, ethereal thing. Darth Vader is a mysterious character when we meet him. Luke Skywalker has mysterious origins.
Well, and there are things they get paid off, but I think the difference in people's mind... I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm with you on this. But I think what irritates people about it is that all the mysteries that pay off in the big reveals in the original trilogy are things you didn't even know were mysteries. Right?
Sure.
Like, you find out about them in the moment.
Sure.
You weren't going, I wonder if Luke and Leia are related. I wonder if Darth Vader is connected. Like who exactly was Darth Vader?
Right.
We're not even supposed to be asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
Like until it's revealed, I never would have found myself going, gee, I wonder who Darth Vader is.
So, like, instead of, like...
So it irritates people that movie is just a setup movie, and it's all like, here's all these weird question marks. So that's not how you make a Star Wars movie, and I think it could be fine if you start answering questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind taking the mysterious aspect of Star Wars and integrating into the plot.
I don't either.
Like, I think that's an interesting way to go, you know?
Especially because the questions were kind of fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted to, like, I enjoyed, like pulling through all of the images that the lightsaber gives to Rey and the Obi-Wan line and all of that, and like trying to figure out what it all meant, and assuming it would pay off in some way.
So I really like when he yells at her in the scene, "You're still holding on, let go," because again, it's the thing, like, he's not able to let go of the past completely, even though he's trying so hard to, and he's telling her to do something that's almost impossible for him to do. It's very hypocritical of him. I really like that.
Yeah, he's intentionally being counterintuitive to his own nature, just like the movie is, Dan. Just like the movie.
And that's also consistent with who Kylo Ren is as a character.
Absolutely.
Like, I think he's the only consistently written character up until, like, the moment I mentioned where he's just being evil space Nazi supreme leader, you know?
Yep.
And Driver's performance in this scene is fantastic.
Which is why I agree with people who have said, and I also agree with this because I think this is a 5-act movie that should have been a 3-act movie.
It should have ended right there.
It should have ended right there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. 100%. Imagine how much we would have been anticipating the next movie if that's how it ended.
Maybe get this dumb subplot wrapped up first and then end it there.
Yeah.
Maybe not make me like wait 2 years to find out how this pointless who cares subplot wraps up.
Well, but I think clearly Rian Johnson had the most interest in the Rey and Kylo Ren story, and I think that's the story that the audience had the most interest in going into this movie as well. I wish they just cut all the other characters out of the movie and just made a movie about them and Luke. And then in the next one, we deal with these characters more, like, because Rey's the POV character. I know in Star Wars we flash between the villains and the heroes in different places across the galaxy and stuff, but it's clear that they just didn't have a story to tell with the other characters.
I also just don't think it's that difficult to contrive something more interesting for a subplot if you need one. Right. But I'm with you. See, I was going to say that earlier, but I hesitated because I'm like, but people would have been disappointed if their favorite characters were Finn or.
But was anyone's favorite character Finn?
I know a lot, but a lot of people's favorite character was Poe. And you know that. People loved Poe. And they would have been upset if they didn't have him. And they're not going to make... Disney's not going to make a Star Wars movie that doesn't have X-Wing fights. Yeah. They're going to have some... They're going to contrive some way to get X-Wing fights in there.
True.
You know? But I just think it would have been easier to do that, and I think it would have been easier to do subplots that converged more and actually had something to do with each other. You know? And I think it's easier, if it's just a struggle between the remnants of the new the New Republic and the now stronger First Order at the beginning of this movie, and then it's really easy to contrive those dogfights.
I like the symbolism that we do here with this lightsaber, because the Skywalker legacy, it's also Anakin and Luke's lightsaber, so it's like the representation of those two sides of it, kind of tugging and trying to see who's going to be the one that's going to be heir to the legacy of that family. I like that, and then it breaks apart.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
Sure.
But the symbolism of that, like the symbolism of Kylo Ren smashing his helmet, is going to be undone by Rise of Skywalker.
I would not have thought it. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with Eric when he says light speeding through a ship to bust it breaks Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of space battles, anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you can just like destroy an entire fleet by hyperspacing through it with one ship, then why even have guns on these ships? Why not just have kamikaze vehicles that do that?
I was going to say, the argument, I guess, is you have to kill yourself to do it.
Sure.
But then the Empire would be using it all the time.
And droids can pilot ships.
And we have autopilots in Star Wars also.
We do. I mean, we see...
Can't you just press a button and abandon ship?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is an autopilot function. Han Solo uses it on the Millennium Falcon.
That's what I thought.
And in the prequels, we see ships that are just droids. Like the fighters that the Trade Federation have, they don't even have pilots. They're just droid ships.
So those are essentially just like a drone ship.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would make those intentionally to blow up other ships. So yes, you'd lose your ship, but if you took out an entire Star Destroyer, it's worth it to lose one vehicle.
Yeah. And here we have the most boring fight in the movie.
Because we gotta act like somehow Finn's a bigger deal than we've made him.
Is it just me, or do the First Order blasters in these new movies look like squirt guns?
I never noticed. I haven't looked that close.
They have like these goofy, like, because like the Stormtrooper weapons in the original movies were black, like gunmetal black. In this, they have like white parts on. They just look kiddie to me. They look like toys.
Okay, I will look for that. Dan, I just had a thought.
Sure.
I was just watching the scene again.
Yeah.
I just had this whole experience with this that I'd never had before. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is an Injustice fight.
Oh yeah?
It's just a fight from Injustice. It's shot like that. It starts like that. It's hilarious. Where you have because in Injustice you'll have those like those bits in a fight where like you're locked together, and then one character has a one-liner, and then the other character responds with a one-liner, and then you each push a button, and you see who takes the other one out. They did that in this movie, and then it's all shot like a 2D fighter.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It is dumb.
Okay, Sarah, once and for all, not a droid.
I really hope they don't bring her back in the next movie. That would be so dumb.
It would, and I just wouldn't put it past them.
Me either. Because she should have died.
We don't even have an explanation as to why she's not dead.
There's a comic book that explains it, but it's not in the movie.
I know,
yeah.
and I've read that actually.
Yeah,
I don't remember what happens in it.
I have it on my bookshelf.
I remember liking it. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I remember reading the first issue and going, "This is boring. This is just a book about a stormtrooper."
Yeah.
It's a stormtrooper. Like, you just read like a stormtrooper book.
Yeah.
It should have been just called Stormtrooper #1.
Yeah.
And then I kept reading, and I was like, "Okay, no, this is better than I was expecting."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some character moments for her that like flesh her out a little bit. But
I bought it for Jason because he loves.
Yeah.
And I've heard that novel's good.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard the novel is really good. But I was so disinterested in the new canon after this movie that I didn't bother with it. So Hux almost like murdering Kylo Ren in this scene is interesting. I like the conflict at the head of the leadership of the First Order going into the next movie. I think that's an interesting status quo.
Yeah, I mean, it would be more interesting if he wasn't just a freaking crazy cartoon character.
I agree.
And if both of them weren't cartoon characters by the end.
I agree.
Yeah, but yes, you're absolutely right.
That's a potentially interesting idea, moving into the next movie.
And I don't hate the writing here. I kind of dig like him doing the Force choke thing, and then he says, "Long live the Supreme Leader."
Yeah, I like
that.
this too. I
agree. It's
agree.
all right.
Yeah, the Kylo Ren stuff is great until it takes a turn on Crate.
Except I still don't love that he's becoming the Supreme Leader, because I thought the idea was we're not going to have the Empire or the Jedi anymore, but, whatever. But I guess the idea could be I'm going to remake it into something else.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. But
I don't trust it. I don't trust him not to just be the two-dimensional bad guy next movie.
Well, and the reason why it doesn't work is because he becomes the two-dimensional bad guy right after he talks about that stuff in this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm with you. He's likely to just have some big epic sacrifice, where he'll have to be redeemed like Vader was because it's the third movie.
Exactly.
But it won't happen until the last 5 minutes of the movie.
It'll happen in a moment of clarity, like with Vader when Luke's dying, and and in the special editions he yells "No!" and then throws out it won't be like he turns and then for most of the movie he's on the light side and then dies.
I completely forgot they did that with special editions.
Yeah, it's awful.
No.
Well, the new special editions.
Right.
Yeah, the newest version of the special editions.
Wow.
Not the ones from the 90s.
That just makes you want to go in and make your own special editions and just ADR all kinds of random stuff with stormtroopers to say, hey, you want to get a burrito later? Yeah, let's go get a burrito. That'd be great. I need some juice. Let's go over to your house.
Well, it reminds me of the way the stormtroopers are played for comedy in Force Awakens a little bit. I didn't have an issue with that, but what you were saying reminds me of that.
Hey, if you're a tree, what kind of a tree would you be? Might do that project. That sounds like fun.
So, we're about to get the reason, during this battle, the reason why Rose is a terrible character. She just, is just awful in this battle here, which I'll explain after, I guess.
Sure.
But the way the Resistance, is planning on surviving, and holding out here is so weird, and, they just get out of it because of the convenience of these Crystal Fox things. It's this plan is terrible, too. And we still have to have Death Star crap in this movie?
Yeah.
Let's just get away from that stuff. People criticized the last movie for having another Death Star.
People criticized Return of the Jedi for having another Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough with the Death Stars! And when he's like, Death Star tech, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound like a thing you say in Star Wars. Every time somebody says tech in this, I'm like, is that a Star Wars
Well, when you
thing
say Death Star tech, does that mean that these cannons they have are capable of destroying planets? Because that's what the Death Star laser does. Or is it just a big laser, so it's Death Star tech?
No, I'm with you. And we have big lasers.
Yeah.
You'd think that it would have to be a lot bigger to be Death Star tech.
Yeah, that's why, it's bigger than a moon.
Also, should Star Wars have lines like big-ass door? I'm just asking the question.
No, it should not.
Okay.
It should not. That's, again, MCU humor creeping its way in here, because they swear all the time in those movies now.
Okay, gonna ask the question.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
If it's salt,
yeah,
how come we're all bundled up like it's snow?
It still could be a cold climate planet.
I guess it could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're subverting your expectations because the snow planet battle is at the end of the movie, not the beginning.
And it's not actually snow.
Yeah, it's really clever.
It's a salt planet.
Super clever.
We don't even need salt mines anymore. We got a whole planet of salt.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if it did snow on this planet, if you built an elementary school on this planet,
yeah,
and
or Jedi Academy, if you will,
sure, and it snowed,
yeah,
would you have to salt over the snow that's on top of salt?
Oh my god. It would be snow, but not slippery.
If it iced? Yeah. But okay, let's say there's ice then.
Yeah.
If there's ice, would you have to put salt on top of the ice that's on top of salt?
I don't know.
So that people could walk on it to get inside of your Jedi Academy
elementary school? I don't know the science of snow salt. But that's possible.
It's a desert, so I'm going to assume it's not going to... It's a salt desert. So I'm assuming it probably wouldn't ice over, but then it is cold, so it could snow.
I mean, according to the coats, it's probably just for nostalgic reasons why the rebels are bundled up. They're probably not thinking about it.
Well, no, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
But I want to make fun of it because it's ridiculous.
So I do like the new design for these AT-ATs with the gorilla fists. That looks cool.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool idea.
The Resistance is in that mine behind the salt.
Mm-hmm.
There's salt, and then there's a mine, but it's not a salt mine.
Well, and it's weird, too, because they act like... The Resistance seems to think it's a abandoned rebel base, and the First Order believes it's a mine.
Oh, was it a mine that became a rebel base?
I don't know.
But then, if you're gonna say, wouldn't the First Order also make the leap that it was a rebel base? What is the importance of the fact that it was ever a mine?
I don't
if
know.
It was a mine.
I think the important thing that it's a mine is so that the rebels can find a way to escape out of it at the very end of the movie.
Because there's like tunnels.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna ask you a stupid question.
Sure.
Because I'm dumb and I just don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone listening knows the answer to this.
Yeah.
Because I just don't remember.
What?
And maybe I never knew. Why are they shooting the red stuff out? What's the red stuff for?
I think it's supposed to be the stuff that's underneath the salt, like what the ground is actually like without the salt on top of it.
Oh, and they're just like zooming. I thought it was. I thought they were releasing red stuff.
No, because
out of their planes. I told you it was a dumb question.
Because you see, the reason why you know immediately that Luke Skywalker isn't really there is because he's not making red footprints like Kylo Ren when he gets out.
How come she likes that?
I like this. That's her worst line delivery ever.
It's really
it's
bad.
Terrible.
How come Kylo Ren can't? Okay, so now he's Hux. So he's been spending way too much time with Hux. How come Kylo Ren can't tell that Luke Skywalker's there with the Force?
Because he's dumb. I mean, in that moment, he's just being dumb.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the idea
the answer for why Snoke died too. He was being dumb.
I think the idea is supposed to be like Kylo Ren is possessed by his emotions and isn't like it doesn't have an attention to detail and he's just there to kill Luke or something. But he should like you would think he'd be able to sense like that Luke isn't really there and notice that he's not making footprints. But
you mean even without the Force, he should be able to tell that something weird is going on?
Yeah, because like the camera.
You're so right.
Because the camera focuses. You'll see. There's a shot of Luke not making footprints here.
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about that. I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the red was part of that. I thought it was just
that's what it
footprints.
Is. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you want to talk about porgs?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
Not at all.
Sure, that's fine. It's our topic. We can do whatever we want to. Hey, you know what I think Finn's dumbest line is?
What?
They hate that ship!
Yeah.
It's dumb. They hate it! So they have a Death Star tech battering ram?
Yeah, it's just like a laser that like melts doors or something. And why did they think to like bring this with them? Like they just randomly had this?
Did they know that there would be this big ass door that would be difficult to take down?
It's almost like they read the script.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that I would have enjoyed this film and given it, like, if I was gonna write about this movie. I don't want to do that. Please, nobody ever ask me to do that.
Oh, you will. Now that you said it, someone's gonna ask.
I know. But if
next Patreon request goes to
so you guys didn't hear it on camera, but I just punched Dan in the face. I did not do that. I did not. But I think this movie probably for me gets like a whole point value more if it ends where we said it should have ended. Most of the war stuff in this movie is in this what I'm calling fifth act.
Yeah. So here we're about to get something that would be a great end for this character. His entire conflict has been, I don't have a cause to fight for. Finn decided he was rebel scum when he was fighting Phasma, and now he's going to sacrifice his life for the survival of the Resistance. And that's a cool place to take his character because we haven't done anything with him character-wise in these movies at all.
And it sure doesn't feel like there's anywhere to go with him.
Exactly. So, Rose robs him of that character arc in the name of we gotta save what we love instead of fighting what we hate, which is some vague platitude.
Yes,
and she,
it is.
Not knowing that Luke Skywalker is going to show up and distract Kylo Ren, dooms the the Resistance to death.
They're all gonna die anyway.
All of them are going to die.
Yeah. So he's trying to do the epic sacrifice thing.
Well, if he takes out this cannon by running into it, the Resistance is saved.
They're helping. Or at the very least, it's going to be a while before they can get in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she just doomed all of their friends to death because she's an idiot.
Oh my god, you're so right about that.
And she's the worst character ever because of it.
And I'd like to also add that it's a good time, especially if that's a good resolution to a character arc, to take out a character like that because we just did the teasy cliffhanger, he's in a coma, is he gonna live or not thing.
Yeah.
That's when you kill that character. So then we're gonna do that with her.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like, oh, is she dead or not? Is she supposed to be dead at the end of this?
No, she's still alive.
Because I don't know.
She's gonna be in episode 9. It's already confirmed.
Okay.
And if you wanted to subvert expectations when compared to the original trilogy or even the prequels, kill off one of the triad.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, and they tried to do that with Poe in Force Awakens, but
Oscar Isaac
wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah. So, I think if you wanted to make people, shocked and subvert their expectations, resolve his character arc and kill him.
Also, Finn is the character out of these characters that should have the personal sacrifice, because he was a stormtrooper, he was a disposable person, he was at some point going to die just for the sake of the Empire, and nobody was going to care, and now he gets to die and it means something.
And he would become in that moment the Resistance hero that Rose wanted him to be at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
It's even a perfect resolution of what we set up with them in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah. And, the stormtrooper that makes himself disposable for the sake of everybody else is real poetic.
Yeah, I agree.
No, we should have done that.
I agree. I mean, regardless of the fact that it's poorly set up in The Force Awakens as to why he turns, you know?
Yeah. Well, no, that's true. And then you would still have that irritating thing of, okay, he's dead now, so we're never going to know why that happened. But
until you get the Finn standalone film.
Oh, right, yes. Finn, a Star Wars story.
That movie would make $3.
It would. It would make $3.
Literally $3.
The BB-8 film would make more money because Minions perform.
Oh God! And you can tell
he's
that
cute.
Mark Hamill is all clean shaven, and his beard doesn't look scraggly and gray, and his hair is dyed here. So you can tell it's not actually Luke Skywalker in this scene as well.
Oh, interesting.
Because when did Luke Skywalker get his hair cut? On the way here, you know.
But are you assuming that was an intentional tell, or did they just shoot this stuff in reshoots and so his face
No,
it's
an intentional thing.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
I would have never picked up on that. Or understood why they would do it that way.
And he also is using the lightsaber that Kylo Ren sees get destroyed in the previous scenes.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Which, again, Kylo Ren's an idiot for not realizing that, because he's obsessed with that lightsaber in The Force Awakens. He's like, that lightsaber... It belongs to me.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get it from Rey in this movie.
It's going to be a mystical, mysterious MacGuffin device.
Well,
yes, that alliteration was intentional.
Well, and George Lucas always talked about that lightsaber like it was Excalibur, you know?
Yeah, so that's why they did that.
Exactly.
And again, why is it calling to Rey? I want to know the answer to that. I'm sure Abrams will give us that finally, but I don't know if it's going to track well with what he did with this now.
And there's the dice from Kira.
Why? Oh no, it's so bad. That drives me crazy. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, no!
Really? The ex-girlfriend dies? Really? That's what
It just
makes
me...
a stormtrooper commentary now.
Yeah. GK421, get back to your post.
Yeah, and then he just gives C-3PO this look like, yes, I know you're there, 3PO. Shut up, I don't care. I'm leaving.
Is that a cross? Is that Jesus imagery we're doing? Did you see that?
I don't think it was. Wait, where?
There was a light shining and it was in the shape of a cross. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Oh, we'll have to go back and look at it after. It's probably not intentional, but that's funny. Because it reminds me of the Superman Jesus imagery stuff.
The most obnoxious, pretentious thing they did in that whole movie was the stained glass window with Jesus in the
Yeah.
right-hand corner.
Yeah, right behind him.
In
focus!
It was in focus!
Yeah.
We get it! And he's 35 years old! We get it!
Has your head ever met my Jesus baseball bat?
And yet, since then, still not the most egregious thing I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Mm-hmm. So we're about to, have Mark Hamill do that, goofy shoulder brush thing that, arrogant people do when they're insulted. Oh, just brush it off. It's just what? This is not Star Wars, man.
Yeah, and then also, it's there's nothing on your shoulder.
Yeah, well, it would
if
he was actually there. The dust would be everywhere, you know?
Yeah, I know, but like.
But he's already left enough clues that it's not really him, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, he left a lot of clues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think becoming here's what we're learning, okay? I think becoming the Supreme Chancellor somehow...
Supreme Leader here.
Sorry, the Supreme Leader? Whatever it is, it's the leader guy of the dark force evil empire.
Yeah.
I think becoming... I'm just going to intentionally start using generic terminology from now on. That's a cool shot.
Yeah,
it is. I think that immediately just makes you a dumb person. I think if you're in that position, it just makes you dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
You contract a disease if you're in charge of stupidity. Well, I mean, do you have insights here? Like, go right ahead, man.
I mean, playing Hux for comedy again here and being, like, thrown like a buffoon into the wall is bad. And how did Finn travel this distance with this sled? Like, they were close to the Death Star attacking. He just teleports.
That's true!
It doesn't make any sense.
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
He's got space rollerblades.
And
like
none
rocket
of
boots.
And none of the First Order, like, walkers, after they stopped shooting at Luke Skywalker, bothered to hit him? Or shoot at him?
Shoot at who?
Finn and Rose when they're escaping.
Oh yeah, kill him.
Yeah.
More! Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a crap.
Yeah.
Man, now it's a Western.
And
that's high noon. I think I just saw a tumbleweed in Star Wars.
Star Wars is based on Westerns. I do like that this lightsaber fight between them.
Air quotes, fight.
Well, it reminds me of the way that samurais would actually fight, because they didn't actually clang swords together. Like, because the steel on katanas back then was so brittle, it was more of a dodging game, and the first person to land a blow would win the fight.
And you know what? I said Western, I was making fun of that scene, but when they did that white shot again, it looks like a samurai movie, and it's kind of cool looking. I gotta give them that.
I do like the fight choreography here. I think it's really cool.
No, you're right, but as soon as you said that, I was like, it looks like a samurai movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's gotta be a way out of this Jesus mind.
There's just a stained glass window right behind C-3PO.
Look, C-3PO is contributing right now. Look at that. He's contributing by saying the same crap he said in other movies before. You know?
At least Anthony Daniels got a paycheck.
2-1. Everybody laughed so hard at that, Dan. Do you remember that? You remember when everybody was like, yeah, he said the same thing he said. And then and they got cut off, and then he finished it. Everybody was like, ah.
See, there's the cross.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't it look like one?
A little bit. I don't think that's
It's not supposed to be.
I don't think that's
But I just thought it was funny. Because Luke Skywalker is walking out, and then we do, like, a cross-light thing.
Yeah. Man, it's a good thing we were paying really close attention to these crystal foxes. Okay, so I guess now he's redeemed himself?
He's learned to blindly obey authority, so he gets to lead now.
Yeah. And I guess, like, he's showing he learned something because he waited until his superior told him that he had permission?
Yeah.
Is that what happened there? Okay, so every single time I watch this movie, I mean, I know I'm missing something I always forget. When did Rey get in the Millennium Falcon? When did that happen?
When did she get in the Millennium Falcon?
Because when she first shows up in it, I was like, that's out of nowhere. When did she get in the Falcon? I don't remember.
And she uses the Falcon's escape pod to get onto Snoke's ship. So where even is the Millennium Falcon?
Okay, so is this a fair question?
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe I just missed something.
So the ship that Snoke's ship, is torn literally in half.
Right.
And she is somehow able to get off screen, this blown in half ship that is floating in the vacuum of space. I guess maybe Chewie picked her up?
Oh, so this is almost like a 2017 Power Rangers question, where it's like, how did you get from this place to this place?
Yeah, it's the same thing we were talking about with Finn and Rose, where they just teleported.
Oh. So the reason I have that every time is because there's not a scene about it.
Yeah, it just happens off screen.
Okay. And then, well, you know what? I'm going to give them credit for not immediately after we saw the close-up on Kylo Ren's shoe in the ground, not immediately going, oh, we did do it! Yeah. No, we did do it! Yeah. At least it wasn't the very next shot, though, because that would have been obnoxious.
It would have been, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. This all looks cool.
It does.
I like this movie tonally, except for the comedic stuff, man.
Yeah,
I do.
And I like this fight a lot.
I like this non-fight.
Me too.
It's fun
because it's like
not
a samurai
fight.
sword fight.
Yeah, but he has no idea that's not a fight because
Yeah.
he's avoiding him. But then he's an idiot because he should know that he's not actually there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you really should not say the name of a Star Wars movie in a Star Wars movie. Okay? There's not a single other Star Wars movie that does that.
Imagine,
they say Solo in Solo, but I'll give them that, okay?
Imagine, like, an Empire, like, Darth Vader's just like,
the Empire.
Captain Nida, the Empire must strike back.
Must strike back. Oh, look, there's Luke Skywalker. It's the return of the Jedi. It's the return of it. Man, we need a new hope.
This will be the revenge of the Sith Lord Vader.
Okay, but if Phantom Menace had been in the movie Phantom Menace, at least we'd know what that title means.
Yeah, true.
That might be okay.
I love Lincoln's like an analysis of that title. Just like, what is this?
What's the Phantom Menace?
So we made a big. This is such a troll scene. Like we made a whole thing about how the Force isn't about lifting rocks, and then it's about lifting rocks.
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
It's worse than that because it's played as a payoff.
Yeah.
That contradicts what it's paying off.
Yeah.
Because it's not about lifting rocks. And we get into the scene. She goes, "Somebody said something about lifting rocks." It's so weird.
It is weird. See, and I really like Adam Driver and Mark Hamill's performance in this scene.
So much.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that face.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
What's not wrong with his face?
Is
the question.
He's so upset that he let all this happen.
And Driver is just seething with rage in this scene, too.
I also guess I kind of like that you've got this fight, this non-fight, where and I'm not saying that to be critical. I like the non-fight, even though he should know that Luke Skywalker's there. Yeah. But it's kind of fun that that he's running around on the ground and there's all this red stuff everywhere, and it sort of kind of looks like blood, but it's like
yeah.
But you never get blood in a Star Wars movie. It's kind of fun.
I also like Driver's performance there. Like when he cuts Luke Skywalker in half, he resists looking back to see what he's done at first. There's a moment where he's just like breathing.
Yeah.
And like he slowly turns around like, oh, like I don't even know if I should have done that in the first place, you know?
And it's not like cool guys don't look at bad things from behind them.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. That's a great point I hadn't thought of.
It's really great.
But it's hard for any of that to be weighty for me because he's a cartoon character.
Exactly.
And then why does Luke die? I
don't know. So we can have the image of him looking at twin sons as he died, just like the way his character's introduced in A New Hope, I guess. It's poetry, it rhymes, you know?
I think Rian Johnson thinks that he's given us enough as far as the rules of the Force work with what happened with Leia in space to say, again, if you do something that powerful with the Force, your body can't take it. We've never done that in Star Wars before. I don't think. Is there anything where like you do some like because we do this in a lot of things with like magic and stuff, where like if you cast a spell that's too powerful, you might a consequence of that is your death or you're injured or it takes a lot out of you.
Well, there is the thing in the expanded universe that the Revenge of the Sith simplifies and makes it dumb. Like in the EU, the reason why Palpatine looked all corrupted is because the dark side, being so strongly connected to it, breaks your body down, and that's one of the prices of the easy path.
Sure.
But in Revenge of the Sith, it's just like he shocks himself with lightning, and he's like, "Oh, I'm too weak," and it's really dumb.
Yeah.
So there is precedence for that.
Okay.
But not with the light side, really. You know?
Well, maybe that's like why the light side won't go too far in doing super powerful things with the Force.
Yeah.
But I would think that has a lot more to do with not being corrupted by power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would think so, but...
I mean, the Jedi have...
And now we have snowtroopers on the Salt Planet for no reason, just because they were an Empire.
I didn't even notice that. That's dumb.
Yeah, it is. They're even called snowtroopers in all the stuff. Like, it's not like they're salt troopers.
They should be salt troopers!
Yeah. But sorry, what were you saying?
I don't remember. It's not important. I want a planet that's all a dirt planet, right?
Yeah.
It's all, you know where I'm going with this? It's all a dirt planet.
Yeah.
And somebody reaches down, they taste something, they go, brown sugar.
Well, we kind of got a mud planet in Solo.
That's what I want. Okay, I want a chocolate planet.
Chocolate planet.
I want like a brown sugar planet or a chocolate planet.
Just wait for Star Wars Episode 25 when they run out of ideas. You'll get it.
I'll get that. Oh yeah, you know what happens in that movie? They go down to a planet that you think is salt, and then it turns out to be sugar. Sorry, go ahead.
How dumb is it that the memento that Luke gave to Leia is fake? You see that? He picked up the dice, and it's a phantom, too.
Also, what?
So he gave
How does that
Leia
even work?
a fake version of the dice that Han's ex-girlfriend gave
It's
him.
even worse than what he thought!
It's dumb.
Oh, no! Dan, that's insane!
And Rey somehow got the books out of the Jedi
She got
thing,
the
too.
books. I thought we set them on fire. I don't understand that. And then Yoda's got the whole thing about how they're not important. And then she's got them.
And rather than Luke training Rey to be a Jedi, she's going to become the most powerful Jedi ever, basically through a Jedi training manual.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing ever.
Quite as stupid as Splinter in the 2014 Ninja Turtles movie,
that's
knowing
the worst.
everything about ninjutsu because he read it out of a book
But
he
it's
found in
kind
the
of
sewer.
the same thing.
But it's not quite that bad, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
At least she's met a Jedi.
Yeah.
Splinter is probably never even seen one on television.
True.
A ninja, not a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have everything we need.
But does that count as another contradictory payoff?
I don't know.
Like with the lifting rocks thing, where it's like, oh, lifting rocks. I thought it was about lifting rocks. Oh, the Jedi texts. I thought those weren't important. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we doing?
So I do like things about this scene here where it parallels well with Luke talking about how the legend of Luke Skywalker is a bunch of crap, and then we see these kids, because of Luke's... I mean, I don't know how they even know about Luke's sacrifice or whatever, but, like, they believe in the legend of Luke Skywalker, and he lives up to it by the end, sort of. Like, I like that as an idea, you know? It's kind of cool.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't work with the way it's set up, but, like, I like the idea of that, you know? And then this kid is able to, like, force pull a broom without any training, and it's just like Rey, and I hate that, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I hate that about this scene. And then they do the cringy thing where, like, the broom is supposed to be, like... this is supposed to be, like, a lightsaber, and he's looking off into the you know, vastness of space like Luke was in A New Hope, and they play the same music, the Force theme. So it's supposed to invoke that, but... I don't know.
Do you think they'll be silly enough to make that kid a character?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
Because the first time I saw this, I thought that was just a token, like messagey ending, where it was with this random character we've never seen before, saying, "Look, other people can be Jedi, and you don't actually need to be trained." And I'm not really sure what the point of the Jedi were at this point, but I didn't realize he was set up earlier. I didn't realize that was a character, which makes me think that they will do something with that character.
I don't think Abrams will do anything with him, but I think, like, down the line, if we choose to do movies, like, in the future in this continuity, like, after Episode 9, I think he'll probably be a character.
Especially if we wait 5 or 6 years because they're worried Star Wars movies aren't going to perform. That kid would be old enough to be a Jedi.
I also wouldn't be surprised if, like, at the very end of the movie or something, like Episode 9, there's, like, a token scene where, like, Rey starts a Skywalker or Jedi, whatever the Jedi Order ends up being, and then he's there or something.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but...
The problem, okay, what's weird about all of that is we know that Daisy Ridley doesn't want to come back past 9.
Yeah. But
So-
you don't have to have her back to, like, jump in time in the
You
future,
don't.
and then he's a character, like, that person is a character, a Jedi,
I
you know?
want to think they'll jump way ahead, but, I mean, I wish they would.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the plan right now is to either jump way ahead or jump way back to the past, because the Knights of the Old Republic stuff we know is in development at this point, and David Benioff and D.B. Weiss's project is something else, and we just don't know any details about it yet.
I guess the assumption I keep making is that they'll do 10, 11, 12 at the same time as some other trilogy. So if they jump back to the past, like, it wouldn't be in lieu of the next, like, moving forward trilogy, but maybe so. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know what Benioff and Weiss's movies are. I mean, they could be set not as far in the past as Knights of the Old Republic. They could be, far in the future, like Legacy. They could be anything, you know?
I'm going to suggest something I've never thought of before.
Yeah.
I think it would maybe show some integrity to. I don't know if you'll agree with this. I think it would maybe show some integrity to leave the episodes behind.
Well, they took all the episode monikers off of these movies and all the marketing and the titles of the movies anyway.
So you don't think we'll do 8, 10, 11, 12?
No. I think people colloquially know these movies as 7, 8, and 9 because they've watched the previous Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
But remember when the prequels were coming out? It was Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. It was on all the posters.
We made a big deal out of it because they were prequels and because Lucas was making a big deal out of it's a saga. Right. And I think they've had their cake and eaten it too with these.
Well, in all the trailers and all of the promotional
right.
stuff, it's just called Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
No,
Star
right.
Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It's not Star Wars episode. I mean, Netflix calls it Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi.
But then for the fans, I think they have continued to play it up as the end of the Skywalker saga, so they are playing up the episode 7, 8, 9 at that point.
Right.
No, you're right.
Which, it's so weird to have the end of the Skywalker saga and Carrie Fisher's gone, so we're not going to be able to do much with Leia. They said they're going to repurpose scenes from The Force Awakens with her, which sounds like a terrible idea.
It does.
But I guess we'll have to see. And then Luke's dead, so he can only be a Force ghost. And and I guess,
or he didn't die and he disappeared or something. But I think he died.
Yeah, me too. And then we have Kylo Ren left, who is he has a different last name, but he is a Skywalker. But like we said, he's
got Skywalker blood. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably just gonna do the Darth Vader thing, epic sacrifice at the end. Which Skywalker is rising? Are they going to bring back Anakin or something?
The only way the Skywalker rising thing without a character makes sense is if it's what you're saying, and Skywalker means...
Or if they resurrect Darth Vader somehow.
No, what I was going to say, if Skywalker means the Jedi now.
Yeah.
If that's what they're doing with that title.
Right. Or if they, resurrect Anakin somehow, or something dumb like that.
I gotta tell you, man, I think the most likely outcome is what is that rumor.
Yeah.
I think that's very
too.
likely.
It's interesting, though, when you watch the Rise of Skywalker trailer, when it, we assume Kylo Ren is in the TIE fighter chasing Rey, we see gloved hands, but they never show who it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can assume that is him,
Yeah.
It could be some other character. It could be whatever Palpatine ends up being in that movie or something,
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. I'm with you, I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I just think it's a curious choice, not to show him,
This is going to sound ultra cynical.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really surprised if 9 is very good at all.
Yeah.
A part of me is glad that Abrams is coming back just because I know that he will try to pay off stuff that I was curious about.
Right.
So I might get some answers even if they don't fit great with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they rushed the development so hard.
Well, did you hear about what they're doing with the editing? So Abrams wanted to push the release date back after all the troubled development stuff with
Because he needed to.
And Disney said no, and what they're having to do is edit the movie while they're shooting it.
I did hear that, now that you say that, I forgot about that.
And that's something that isn't done.
That's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
And that means there's no chance for reshoots.
Uh-huh.
And people freak out about reshoots, but sometimes you need them.
No, sometimes it's just you didn't get quite the performance you wanted of the actors in that scene, so you need to go back and do something else with it.
That's akin to publishing as you go along.
Yeah. I mean, reshoots do not mean we re-scripted a whole section of the film and
sometimes it means we didn't get the shots we needed.
Exactly.
And they're not going to be able to do that if they're editing as they go along.
Unless they somehow scheduled in time for reshoots and then they edit the reshoots while they're doing them too.
They re-edit, yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Maybe so. Boy, that's scary.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
I mean, that thing could be completely incoherent.
It could be, yeah.
It could be even more incoherent than this movie.
Well, and it's going to be interesting, right? If there's two, saga movies in the sense, in the main continuity of Star Wars movies that everyone goes to the movies to see, if there's two duds in a row, this franchise is dead, dude.
It's in big trouble.
It's dead.
You think dead?
Yeah.
But it could just survive on television if Mandalorian's good. They could just do nothing but television projects for Star Wars.
Which, is so crazy,
insane.
Man. The Star Wars film franchise is going to die after Disney invested $4 billion in it.
Yeah, and the only way they can even begin to recoup their costs is to put it on a streaming service.
I mean, regardless, the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss trilogy is going to come out, and the Knights of the Old Republic stuff is in development.
Oh, you think that's going to happen for sure?
They're already contractually, and they're making it now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But we don't know what that is yet.
We just don't know what it is.
Okay.
In fact, George Lucas was present on the set of the final Game of Thrones season and was like talking to them and stuff.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So like, all that stuff is already in the pipeline.
Is George Lucas like involved in the making of that movie?
I don't know.
Like what would be the point of him going on set?
Maybe to just meet them. I don't know.
He just wants to know because
in the same way that like he met with Favreau when he was making the Mandalorian.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, he did too.
Maybe just to give him advice on his project. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact purpose was, but like, it's just so cool. Like, when that stuff comes out, if Rise of Skywalker is a dud, who's gonna go see that Ben Affleck White stuff? Who? Especially after the vitriolic stuff that happened with the final season of Game of Thrones too. Like, I don't watch that show, but everyone seemed to have either hated that or been kind of disappointed with it. You know?
They really approached this, and of course, a lot of people say they approached it too safe because they made a trilogy that they tried to make look as close as possible to what came before and be on the nostalgia grab. But and I agree with that obviously to a point. But man, their approach with this was we can't lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like whatever we do, we're gonna be fine at Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was to some degree a too big for our britches kind of mentality because Marvel's been so successful, where they're like, we know how to do shared universes.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
Star Wars is already a proven brand, so we don't have to do the legwork. They did need to do some legwork.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting that they thought they could apply the same formula to a different franchise with like a different producer at the helm too.
Yeah.
Like Kathleen Kennedy is not. Like, she's a very experienced producer, worked on some of the best films of all time, some of my favorite films of all time. But
she's never done what
she's never done.
Done.
Yeah, she's not a showrunner. She's like a businesswoman.
And you have to approach these things to some degree like a TV show.
And I don't want to say that Kathleen Kennedy's not a talented producer because I fundamentally think she is.
Yeah.
But I just think this is not the correct job for her.
Yeah.
You know?
Would you say she doesn't get Star Wars?
I don't think she's a Star Wars fan.
Sure.
I think she knows how to make movies. But like, there's an interview in the extras for The Force Awakens where she talks and she says, "We approach making Force Awakens the same way that we would approach making any other big franchise film that's made today." And I'm like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Star Wars is special. Like, you need to approach it differently.
And that's fuel for my fire. They're going, we've done all these Marvel movies. We know what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even though she wasn't involved in any of them.
Right. But the parent corporation.
Yeah. And I'm also not saying that with as much on Feige's plate, I would want him to come over and do Star Wars.
No.
That's what a lot of people have said.
No.
Now, if he left Marvel and was the new guy for Star Wars, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Because you know me, like, I'm sort of down on some of the more recent MCU stuff, and I think it's too intrusive. Like,
yeah.
I think if we got into new Star Wars, the intrusive humor that's in this movie would get even worse. You know?
Or at least be as bad.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to make sure that we say before we finish this commentary?
No, I hope that we were able to articulate, like, a nuanced opinion on this movie, and people don't think that, like, we just hate it blindly. Like,
and yeah, I made fun of a lot of stuff, and I was throwing out a lot of jokes toward the end, because I think that that last 20 minutes is insane.
Yeah.
But, like, it's so frustrating, because there's all these places, where I'm going, this looks really interesting. Oh, it's not, though.
And I think there's a lot of great individual moments in the film. All the Kylo Ren stuff, like I said, until the last 20 minutes is great. And it's consistent with The Force Awakens. It's consistent with, in the context of this movie, I really like all that stuff.
I have talked to people who love this movie, and I don't know if this is super consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you like Last Jedi, you didn't like Force Awakens. I don't know if that's true. It's probably not.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that I've talked to that loved Last Jedi didn't like Force Awakens, or didn't like it much.
Yeah.
And I have been told by people that by people that loved that, and that loved this movie and didn't like Force Awakens, the problem with me is I was too invested.
Well,
you shouldn't have been invested, and you have to look at this as a completely standalone movie.
Well,
It's called Episode 8. It acts like it's the second part of a trilogy, even though it's got like 5 parts of it in its own film.
And like the movie that they put out before, like, asked you to be invested.
Yeah.
and I think it did a pretty good job of investing you in the new characters, at least in my opinion, you know? And furthermore, I hear this similar argument about Star Wars in general. People will say, Star Wars is a dumb space fantasy franchise for kids, so you shouldn't care that this movie has problems. Because you should just be there for the explosions, and it never made sense in the first place anyway, and the original trilogy was never even good. I've heard a lot... people have said that to me. And I'm like, you people just don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and this movie is inconsistent enough in its characterization, especially with the last movie, and it's tonally uneven enough. I said I like the tone. There's the overall tone of what I think Rian Johnson's going for. I dig, except for the comedy, but I don't think he's consistent with it either. Right? This is a kind of a hard thing to talk about.
Yeah,
but I got really, like I said, invested with Force Awakens, and this movie could have done what Jurassic House did for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Where it could have been like, okay, this is insane, but like, I'm enjoying the stuff I'm enjoying about it so much that I can like it on some other level, even if it's not what I want. But the difference between Jurassic World, the first one for me, and Force Awakens is Jurassic World is also a somewhat over-the-top movie. It's not like I was super invested in those characters or anything. I just enjoyed that world, and then and then its sequel was bonkers, and it was, and I had fun with the bonkersness of it. It's now my favorite bad movie.
Right.
This couldn't even win me over in that way.
Well,
partly because some of the over-the-top stuff is boring, like we said with the casino stuff.
Yeah, and the thing, and I think the difference is like, Jurassic Park as a franchise tonally has been bonkers after the first one anyway.
Precisely. Like
Star Wars, even the prequels, the bonkers stuff in them, they're not tonally bonkers, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to make a serious story about how a democratic society is transformed into a dictatorship, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's what
it's just poor execution.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I mean, I wanted to do that too. I wanted to lay out like here's, you know, hopefully we made it, you know, pretty clear what our thoughts are, and that we're not just going bad. This movie bad.
No, and I gotta say, like, this movie, as much as I don't like it, still reinforces my love for Kylo Ren as a character. Like I mentioned before, he's still one of my favorite Star Wars characters after this movie. I don't think he's ruined or unsalvageable going into 9. He's the reason why I'm excited for that next movie. The sole reason.
And I think Johnson has the same thing Abrams does.
Yeah.
In fact, in a way, I kind of admire it, right? Because I think Johnson's a good director.
Yes.
I also think he's a good writer.
I agree.
And I think Abrams is a good director, and he's good at... Would you say they're on par as directors? It's hard to say who's better than the other.
I think...
And they're somewhat similar in ways.
I think Abrams is obviously a more experienced director, so given the choice between the two of them, I'd probably take Abrams.
Okay, sure.
But that's not to take away from Rian Johnson.
The thing with Abrams is
he's
really calculated at putting disparate elements together that he thinks will bring in a big audience and make a really safe movie that everybody likes.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at doing that.
Yeah.
Johnson did take some risks, so I mean, I have to admire him for being... I think he's more creative than Abrams was.
Yeah.
He just didn't know how to pay anything off.
Well, I think if you gave Abrams and Rian Johnson a script that took a lot of risks and they didn't change anything about it, I think the Abrams movie would be more competently made.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't say, that I'm not saying that Rian Johnson wouldn't be able to make the movie competently and it wouldn't be beautifully shot, because there's some very talented, directing in this movie.
Yeah.
Very, great stuff, great shots. A lot of the movie looks great, like we mentioned. But I just think I like Abrams' style a little bit more, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah.
A little bit more.
And of course, part of the problem with this was just the pick. He needed to be more proven before he was given the keys to the kingdom.
Literally the kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't blame Johnson as much as the weird story choices and stuff. I don't blame him as much as I do Disney for giving it to him. The man wasn't ready. In my opinion, he just wasn't ready.
Well, it's so interesting. The Red Letter Media talks about this in their Half in the Bag, where it's the first movie was so clearly made by a committee, and the second movie is just made by some guy.
Yeah, and could we split the middle somewhere?
It's almost like they tried to damage control so hard from the criticism that The Force Awakens was a safe movie that they were like, just do whatever!
Yeah.
And we ended up with this, and I don't know what I like less. I like The Force Awakens more as a movie, but I also would have liked that movie to take more risks, and then they tried to, and the movie is worse. Like,
yeah, but I don't think the lesson there is look, there's nowhere to go for Star Wars.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think the lesson there is play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lesson there is stop thinking about expectations and tell a story.
I agree.
You got some characters. Let the characters drive the narrative.
And that's what Ryan Johnson's argument was whenever Mark Hamill would say, we need to think about the fans. Like, Mark Hamill said this interview, and Ryan Johnson said, no, we have to think about the story we want to tell. And I agree with him in concept with that idea.
Yeah, but I saw his movie, and it doesn't seem to be exactly where his head is at. I don't know how exactly to describe it. But when Mark Hamill says we got to think about the fans, he's right in that the fans want consistency in the character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those two things are not totally disconnected.
No.
But don't think about the fans. Think about what you've got already and who the character is, and then go and just have a vision and tell a story.
Exactly. Yep. I agree.
Or well past the movie. So thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Dan, I had a phenomenal time doing this.
This was a ton of fun to watch.
It was.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. Like beforehand, you were like kind of dreading it, but I knew we would have a good time, and well, I think we had a lot of insightful things to say that I haven't heard people say in other places too, which is surprising because this movie has been done to death.
I want to pat myself in the back and say, look how insightful we were. But
but
you're right.
I think we came up with some really unique.
I thought of stuff I never thought of before. You're absolutely right.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, and you said a lot of things that I was like, oh, I never like the light and dark side both being in that lightsaber. Never thought of that.
Yeah. So
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Whether or not you love this movie, this is just our opinion, of course, and we're not begrudging anybody that really likes this movie. And again, like I said, even though I don't think this is a good movie, I wish it could have won me over a little bit more in either direction, I guess.
And I've put this movie on a couple times since it came out because I'm a crazy Star Wars fan person, and I always just enjoy the Kylo Ren parts. I know, I sound like a broken record keep saying that, but I can't stress enough that I love that part of the movie.
2.5-hour movie, and that's all you got.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, thanks once again for listening, and feel free to leave comments and tell us what you think about this movie and any ins and outs that we came up with. And
please be respectful in the comments, too. I can't stress that enough. Not just to us, but to each other, please.
Yeah, and I hate that we have to say that, but it's this movie, and there's the anger has not subsided as much as I expected it would.
Yeah.
On either side. Like, people who are angry with those of us that don't like it, people who don't like it who are just vitriolic and freaking out.
Exactly.
It's been kind of a problem in the fan community, and I hate feeling like, man, it's a bad idea to do this movie because everybody's gonna lynch us in the comments.
Yeah. But it needed to be done. The Geekvolution show must go on, and we did it.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, anyway, thanks again for listening, guys. We will see you again next time. I was Captain Logan,
and I was Dan.
Bye, folks.
Bye.